yet to find it.
Be a part of the debate.
What he needs to do is relevant legislation, and he must not overreach, because when he makes those suggestions, he is in a sense misleading the population here.
Speak your mind. Defend your country. Call in. Numbers to call: 869-669-7312. That's 869-669-7312 or 917-460-2187. That's 917-460-2187. On target here on 2020 Vision Radio every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. On target. Be a part of it. On target.
So I'm your host, Kelvin Daly, and I thank you for joining us once again.
Join the conversation.
I looked at it on Facebook and I read the speech, and I'm trying to find out what is the commitment to renal failure in Nevis, and I'm yet to find it.
Be a part of the debate.
What he needs to do is to allow the people to do their work in accordance with the relevant legislation, and he must not overreach, because when he makes those suggestions, he is in a sense misleading the population here.
Speak your mind. Defend your country. Call in. Numbers to call: 869-669-7312. That's 869-669-7312 or 917-460-2187. That's 917-460-2187. On target here on 2020 Vision Radio every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. On target. Be a part of it.
Pico, the way to go for residential, commercial, and industrial wiring, data, security, UPS, and generator installation. When you need electrical work done now, done right, done at an affordable price, contact Pinney's Electrical Company. Call or WhatsApp 665-1916 or email pico_1166@yahoo.com. Pico, the way to go.
One thing. We want we land.
We want we say.
Everybody to that we going. Hold on today. Don't sell we birth right out. Nevis small, we don't know what we bout. Only 36 square miles, we stand proud. We don't give away when we shouting out loud. We want we land. For our descendants, we go and hold on today. To keep out our curry. Don't come to play. Nevis people rise up. We not give it way. We want we land. We want we say. For our descendants, we go and hold on today. To keep out our curry. Don't come to play. Nevis people rise up. We not give it way. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Let us put our hands together for Pupa Wheeler.
I'm bringing in a passe. Bringing them to shout for me. I want them to roar for me. If you don't know I want in you, but I bang them, they go ball foul. Talking about irregularities, boy. They go be up and down, tumbling. No pattern, no peg coming. Boy, pegging south. I'm bringing in East Indians. Boy, from the north, mi amiga and amigos. Como esta bienvenida. La Nivis fiesta. Bring them to shout for me. I want them to roar for me, boy. I go be mashing down the complex. Yes, if they don't call me king, boy, I don't be like the doctor placing the campus suicide bomber, boy. Bringing them to shout for me. I want them to roar, boy, roar for me. Anything you want, you go get, boy. I'm mixing up the soca with some Hindi and some rumba, chutney and lavandera. ID no necessary, boy. Whisker lips a mercenary. Bringing them to shout for me. I want them to roar, boy, roar for me. Maintain your impulso. Total zombie and beater. Take it away. The local fans decreasing. Why? By the numbers they keep dropping. No, but they don't shout no more like they used to shout before. Boy, disgruntled fans they crumbling about promise songs. Fail on delivering. Start song and can't finish it. In standard English, singing stupidness, nonsense. Why don't you sing a song and help again? Tell me what happened to me fair share. When the money disappear. Ooh yeah, boy. Stuart, if in question here. Bringing them to shout for me. I wanted to roar for me. Rocking down the complex. Yes, if they don't call me king, boy, I don't really like the doctor placing their campus suicide bomber. Bringing them to shout for me. I want them to roar for me. I'm gonna be mashing up the complex. Yes, if they don't call me king, boy, I don't really like the doctor suicide bomber. Boy, bring it up to shout for me. I want it to roar, boy, roar for me. Anything you want, you go get, boy. I'm mixing up the soca with some Hindi and some rumba, chutney and lavandera. I didn't know necessary. Boy, we got lips of mercenary. Bring it up to shout for me. I wanted to roar, boy, roar for me. Maintain impulso, todo zombie and Peter. Boy, take it away. Airlines. See preacher, see taxi. Bring it up to shout for me. I want them to roar, boy, roar for me. You don't know. You got to spend big money if you wanna win monarchy. I go got the diaspora. 420 in my corner, boy. Share the life, boy. Press like, subscribe, sharing. All here the diaspora's king. Your king go be knocking down your airport, knocking down hospital walls. Boy, training geothermal. Let the Jewish people sing the song. These Hebrew boys don't understand. Becky, that is out for me. I want it to roar, boy, roar for me. I'm broken down the complex. Yes, if they don't throw me king, do it like the doctor, president, camper, suicide bomber. Bring it up to shout for me. I want it to roar, boy, roar for me. Anything you want, you go get. Yes, I'm mixing up the soca with some Hindi and some rumba, chutney and lavandera. I did not necessary. Please got lips of mercenary. Boy, bring it up to shout for me. I want it to roar, boy, roar for me. Maintain impulso, todo zombie and Peter. Keep the momentum. Everybody is welcome. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and welcome to this edition of On Target. And as usual, on a Saturday afternoon, I'm your host, Kelvin Daly, and in studio with me thus far is the man himself. One of the biggest brains I know in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, the man Dwight Cozier is with us. We'll hear from him a bit later. We are awaiting the arrival of the mayor of Hamilton, Tulu Weeks. But in the meantime and between time, what we're going to do is to pay homage to those persons who made podium today. We have 5 brand new. Well, some of them are brand new. Rhonda Brown, number 1 today, followed very, very closely by Kitchen King, and then the lovely lady Iona Dore from Bath, Como Esta Muchacha, over there in Bath Village. Then we have number 4, Drexel, the bottle cork Barton, she's number 4. And number 5, Arlene Jeffers, Stanford. Oh, such a beautiful name for a beautiful lady. Daldria Penny, my number 1 fan down there on St. Kitts, is in their house, and so is Gigi Williams Keat and Oral Joseph. They're both here with us. Muriel Brown, how are you, dear? Ivor, the Boom Master Henry, is with us, and so is Burl Jones, and over there in St. Thomas's, Cecile Hobson. And then we have, similar to Jeffers, over there in St. James, followed very, very closely from another St. James man, Tamaki Saladid. I think he's away right now. And then we have, who else we have here? I can't even read my own writing. Ooh, it looks like Adele Dorr. Only kidding. Adele Dorr, how are you, my dear? And then we have, I said that already. Lynette Farrell and Hildred Davis, Vilena Ali, Olivia David, Judy Cornelius Webb up there in her own Judy Cornelius Webb estate, and Sharon Stapleton all the way in Boston. Good afternoon to you. Alvy Davis is with us, and so is IDF Ingrid Daniel Farrell is in the house. I think she's here on Nevis. I think I saw her posing somewhere on Nevis. And Cheech Warner, Charlene Jeffers. I think I mentioned Charlene already, didn't I? No. Charlene Jeffers is with us. And so is the gentle little giant from down there, Old Hospital Road. The man himself, Bumpy Moving. And then Ian Hanley from up there in Government Road. Earl Maskell, Wisdom Faith. I've never seen that name before. Let us know who you are. And Catherine with a K, France. They're all in the house. And so I see Paul Pemberton just rolled in. Jeanette Grellhall over there in Budgeon. And who else? Jam Forbes. And she's saying hi. Good afternoon, Tonya Powell over there in Texas. And she's saying good afternoon, Honorable Kozia. You have a fan already, boy. Good afternoon. And then we have, I think that's it for now. But the board is lit up, so we got some good people coming in. Let me say good afternoon to the man himself, Cozy. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Yes, good afternoon, Dr. Daly, and good afternoon to all of the beautiful listening audience. They're showing up on your screen as you categorize their names and some of their identities. Mm-hmm. Most of them names I have recognized, and I want to say a friendly and personal good afternoon to you all, and happy Culturama, those of you who are here, and those of you who are still in the diaspora. I'm sure you're looking in and still enjoying your own version of Culturama wherever you are.
All right.
So good afternoon.
Good enough. And the mayor just rolled in, fashionably late. The man Tulu Weeks. Tulu, get yourself stuff together, and then we will get started. Let me mic you up here. Okay, you're good to go. All right. We should have a very, very interesting show today because the man himself, the Honorable Clayton Cozier, Dwight Clayton Cozier, will be sharing quite a bit of information. He will appraise us of his ongoing civil suit against members of this government, as well as other issues that he is so affair with. And so he is a tremendous resource, and I'm glad he has decided to lend his voice here to on 2020 Vision and to our share in his knowledge. And so, let's go. Where am I? Okay. Let's first give kudos to the new reigning Calypso King for Nevis, the mighty King.
Mighty King.
Cairo, out of Cotton Ground. He would have taken the crown last night. And if you were, I was not there, I would have really wished I had gone, because I heard it was quite a spectacular performance, but not only by King Cairo, but other participants. But let us focus on the king for a moment, because I for one, never thought that he would succeed, given the seriousness of his songs. He had two songs there very critical of the government. One of them spoke directly to the premier, asking him to resign. And so, had it not been perhaps for the change in the usual lineup of judges, perhaps we'd be saying something different. But I understand there were several new judges that were from the music fraternity who judged him the winner quite significantly. And so he would have come out on top. But I understand from his performance that he was quite serious about his presentation. I understand that when he came out for his first song, which asked the premier, a letter, basically called A Letter to the Premier, he would have indicated, he would have had his stage hands, his helpers, all dressed in blue shirts. The lights was blue. The backup singers were in blue. And then at some point, everybody changed to green. So it was sending a subliminal message that green is the green light for victory for NRP. And I love that song, you know, when he says the premier's horse and buggy broke down, and, you know, it's time for him to step down, step aside. So it was quite a performance. I saw it on several people's Facebook pages, and everybody's crying about it, how well the performance was, and more so that he told the truth about what's happening in this country. And so it's more than a performance. It was truth, talking truth to power. And that is what we were missing a long time. And I understand, you know, people like this and that who did not place in the top three, you know, you really need to go sit down with them same old rebranded foolishness. I think the insulting thing for people was that he's telling people in his song that things are good, that you know, and people rejected that because everybody getting squeezed. And so he was wrongly rejected with nonsense songs, and rightly so. But congratulations to all three persons who made podium, and of course to King Cairo himself for delivering truth to the people of Nevis finally. I don't know if you gentlemen heard the songs or want to comment on the songs. I know Tulu, you know, the gospel songs, so Tulu ain't got nothing to say. But Kozia, you would have heard the song before?
Unfortunately, no. I went to sleep quite early last night.
Draw your mic a little bit closer to you, please. Draw your mic a little closer to you.
I haven't been, you know, regrettably, I haven't been following up with the semifinals, the
finals,
you know, quarterfinals, the finals, and so forth. So, I have to say, unfortunately, no, I'm not very familiar with the song.
The broadcast station normally
yeah, it was on pay-per-view.
Oh, pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have viewed it then because I wouldn't have paid for pay-per-view. But,
well, let's read some of the comments of the people on the Facebook feed. And Delicious Nichols Brown is saying, Cairo put the Kaiso back in Calypso. Definitely did that. He banged them all with a hammer last night. Be kind, Delicious. Let me see here who other persons commented on that. Yeah, Tanya's agreeing with me with my description of this and that, saying, I don't. Unfortunately, Tanya, I do not have it on my playlist. I'm sorry that I don't have that. So perhaps the engineer can, if he's listening, he can load it. Let me see here. I think that's it for that part of it. All right. Okay. Gentlemen, today, August 1st, 2026, marks 56 years since the MV Christina went down, right in the channel there between St. Kitts and Nevis. And for those of you who are unaware of the issue or the tragedy, let me give you a brief description of what happened. The vessel would have departed St. Kitts on its regular journey to Nevis. It's a once per day trip. You go down in the morning, you come back in the afternoon. There are no other ferries, so if you get left back, you get left back. And so that Saturday will have preceded the regular Emancipation Day celebrations, which would have been on Monday. The first Monday in August is also always celebrated as Emancipation Day. And those of you who do not know what emancipation is, it is the day that slavery ended in 1834. And so that the first Monday in August is Emancipation Day celebrating the freedom of our forefathers. All right, so the vessel. Whose phone is that? That's not my phone, is it? Oh, yeah. Somebody's calling in. Good afternoon, on target.
Hey, Dr. Daly and my villager right there on the radio, and Tulu and Dwight. Yeah, I remember Dwight. Yeah. Yeah, I'm calling to congratulate oh my goodness. That's a song, Dr. Daly. There's no more sheriff in town. His courage has broken down. You know, and that telling us that something good is soon to happen in Nevis. You know, because people just standing up and they're standing up for what is right. They see so many things happening in Nevis and they're getting fed up of it. And I just called to congratulate him. Cairo, I'm congratulating him on his winning. And continue doing what you guys doing, man. You're bringing in everything for us so we could understand what's going on in Nevis. Those of us who are here in the diaspora, we are so glad that you guys are, you know, bringing truth to power in Nevis. Congratulations again to Cairo.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, that was Vilena, and she's saying hello to your cozy, your villager.
Yes, I recognize the voice. Vilena, Ali, one of my favorite people in Mount Lily, Fountain Mount Lily.
Okay.
Cousin of Ernie France.
Okay.
Lives in New York. Very beautiful lady, and a very
Inside
staunch Christian, God-fearing lady as well, and very passionate about the affairs of Nevis.
Yeah.
Even though she lives in New York, she's always alert in relation to what is happening here on this beautiful island that she also calls her own.
And Atula is glad to hear God-fearing lady.
Oh, my heart is jumping.
Well, let's get back to the matter at hand. Thank you for the call, Valina. Yes, this boat, it's rated for 155 passengers, and it was overloaded to the point of 300, and let me make sure I get my numbers right here, 334. I think that's the number of persons that was on board. 334, yeah. So it was severely overloaded, and when you weigh in the cargo also it was quite overloaded. Now the design of the boat has always caused a lot of anxiety because it really rode low in the water. It was never really designed for open water crossing. It's a riverboat that was built in Guyana and used to transport persons between Nevis and St. Kitts. And as you all realize, the water can get quite choppy during that crossing at times. And so often you were going down to St. Kitts, and if you were on the first level, which was encased, then you often got your feet wet. Water was coming into the boat. I understand that for that very trip, the ballast, which is a water ballast, which tends to stabilize the boat, was removed so you can ride a little bit higher out of the water, but it also makes it more unstable. But nonetheless, it was overloaded, overcrowded, with 334 persons, and unfortunately, 233 perished. 233 perished on that fateful day. I remember I was up at Grove Park next to my aunt, near my aunt's house, in a guinea tree, and there was those days they didn't have phones and stuff like that, and there was what you call a town crier. This guy went through the villages ringing a bell and alerting persons of news, good or bad, and I heard him ring out that Christina had sunk. By the time it was well past 5, and I would have made my way to the pier. By the time I got to the pier, there were bodies lined the pier, some in full clothing, some undressed, some partially undressed. And it is an image that you'll never get out of your mind. It was the most distressing, horrific scene. And persons were coming in alive on rescue boats, fishing boats, etc. I remember Sea Hunter brought in quite a few persons, some persons from all the way to shore, over a mile and a half. But unfortunately, so many persons perished. 57 persons who were recovered were identified, claimed by their families and buried. The other 66 persons who were brought up later were in such a bad state of decomposition that they were buried in a mass grave up there at the Bath Cemetery. So of the 233 that perished, only 123 were recovered. 110 were never recovered. Now, persons ask, well, how this could happen? You know, the vessel was owned by the government of St. Kitts and Nevis and St. Kitts, the federal government, operated by them, managed by them. And so when it happened, there was not, the legal liability that we have now was not in place. And therefore, the government was under no legal obligation, as I understand it, to compensate families. And there was a lot of distress and pain because so many breadwinners were on that vessel. People lost their mothers and fathers, their caregivers, and they never got any assistance from the federal government to assist to get them back stabilized, get them back on their feet. Nothing was paid. And out of, you know, even though there was no legal liability, I really believe that a matter of conscience and empathy, that something should have been done. And so those left orphaned were scattered to the wind. Persons would have been taken in by families in America, in England, throughout the Caribbean, and right here at home. My own family would have taken in my brother Othniel Daly. He was Othniel Paris. His mother and grandmother perished on that boat. And they were the breadwinners. And so there was nobody to look after the young ones. And so my mother, in her good love and grace, took in Othniel, and we have been brothers ever since. We shared a bed for a number of nights, and then he got his own bed after that. But this was a tragedy that really shifted Nevisian history. Out of this tragedy came the uprising of NRP, the Nevis Reformation Party, 2 months later. And not just this because of this crisis, but because of the ill treatment Nevisians historically got from St. Kitts. This sinking was just the icing on the cake to push us towards a greater sense of identity and self-worth. And so the Nevis Reformation Party was created out of this real dark period in our lives. All right, so I just wanted to share some of the issues with you. I, for one, do not believe that the memorial that is presently existing on the Samuel Hunkins Drive is adequate. I believe it's wholly inadequate for the kind of loss that we suffered, where every family in Nevis was touched one way or the next. We needed something, and we need something much more in keeping with the level of tragedy that we faced, and we are still going through it. A gentleman who I know is Ozzy, he would have commented on a post I did this morning and said he lost so much and never got anything back. And I'm certain he would be glad to be able to walk into a proper memorial and say hello to his mother and siblings who perished on that boat. So with all of us, you know. So I am looking forward to the day when we can have a significant memorial for so many persons who perished on that ill-fated Saturday. All right, so Danny, come sit next to me here. I was trying to call you. Yeah, so, yeah. All right, bring your chair over further, please. Yeah, there you go. All right, so, Kozia, you weren't born yet, so.
I was 2 years old.
You were 2.
Just approaching 2.
And
born in 1968.
And your recollection?
No, nothing.
Nothing. You have no recollection. You were
It's a vague memory.
You were in Pampers or diapers.
Diapers.
All right, you weren't born yet. Tulu. You remember anything of the childhood?
He's being kind.
He's being kind.
Yes, I have a lot of memories of that day, and some of the experiences after that, for sure. You know, but I spoke to somebody. I attended the memorial service today, and I asked one of the survivors if they got anything, and he said he lost a sister. It was himself, his brother. 2 brothers survived. Sister died, and one day somebody walked into the yard and offer his mother $100. Say, pull the cutlass and tell her get out of this yard. You know, you're telling me my sister only worth $100, and nobody ever came back, and nobody ever said anything. You know, and so again, he's kind of annoyed at the memorial and what goes on and thing. I think that you put in things like those together, you try to find people who was there. Because some of the things that they read there today, he's cussing because he said, that is not the reality. You know, and so people still have difficulties coping.
Let me put you up. Yeah, me and you are the same age, so
Yes.
you'll have.
Well, here the joke, the first time I came town was the night Christina sink. Because I have no reason to be in town. So the first time I came to town.
In your life?
In my life, Charlestown, was the night we heard Christina sing. We hustled down from Cox.
A bad wind never blow.
About 6 of us.
A bad wind never blow.
And we came to town to see what going on. We didn't see much, but we wanted to see what going on because there was this Christina. And just 2 things to share, Kel. Nearly everybody, every family in Nevis had a close relative on the boat. I had an aunt on the boat who died, leaving 9 children. I have been to several of the memorial services. I myself was involved in organizing one at sea. 2 things stand out from them. One fellow said that at one memorial service in 2014, he came to say thanks. It's the first time he and the other 4 siblings slept under the same roof since 1970. There were 5 of them, and they were parceled out to St. Kitts and so on. And then at another ceremony to mark the scene, one person said, Mommy, her mother died at 32, leaving 8 children. And she said, I remember Whitman was there, who wrote the book about the Christina. That was the most, revealing, if it was. That had a great impact on people. She said, Mommy, all of us are now older than you. Mm-hmm. Oh, my goodness. So there was there was immediate screaming. So I think also, Kel, you would know, this Christina disaster took out a lot of the young, sexy people from Nevis. So the population has really never recovered from this washing out, as it were, of the young people. A lot of the teachers, a lot of the nurses, technical people, public servants get mashed up.
Yeah, a lot of persons would have been coming into Nevis for vacation or to celebrate Emancipation Day, which would have been held 2 days after. But instead of celebrating emancipation, we were put back into mourning, as if slavery never ended. I think for a whole many years after, I was having nightmares.
You live in town. You see them right
we saw them on the pier.
On the beach,
people I've known for a long time.
Wash up.
And a lot of the hucksters, we would have gone to. My mother was a regular visitor or buyer at the public market in Charlestown. So I knew most of the hucksters because I used to go shopping with her to carry the bags.
Right.
And so when you see people lined up, like sardines dead, as a child I was 11 years old. And so it was a devastating period. Let's take this call. Good afternoon, on target.
Hello?
Yes, good afternoon, on target.
Yes, good afternoon. See that memorial in the cemetery?
Yes.
There used to be just a little concrete square inside there.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day I was traveling on a bus going back to work. And I looked in and I saw the concrete all broken up. And inside it, they had all kinds of garbage piled up in there. Old wire and all kinds of things. And when I got back to work, I called Malcolm and explained to him what I saw. And he said that they would try and do something about it. And I waited, and I think he was going to speak with Vance. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and nothing. And I think I had to call him back about it. And nothing. And when NRP got into government, we went to Mr. Hector and we put the case to him. And right away, he decided, well, government decided, let's do something about it. And they got Meredith Hendrickson, and he went and built that, what you see there now. And then we had the first opening, the first memorial service there that year. And the plan was to have two alternated, once in the cemetery and once in the down at the waterfront. Because in the cemetery is where people are buried, and you want to honor them. The first year we had it there, and then after that, CCM got back into government, and they never followed up on that plan. So the service was never held in the cemetery again. And I think that they should go back to doing it, okay? Because people are buried there, nobody is buried down by the waterfront. So we need to try and honor the people properly.
Okay.
I had two sisters on that boat, plus some cousins. Okay? I don't think they were found. As far as I know, they were not found. Okay?
How do you deal with closure if you have you didn't get chances to goodbye? How do you get closure from losing two sisters and other family members? How do you get over that? Or do you ever get over it?
You never get over it. We've never gotten over it. We always think about, what did they go through?
Did you or your family receive any sort of assistance to help you through, to stabilize your family? Any sort of assistance whatsoever?
I think they had some kind of, whatever it is they had, and they were offering my mother some little pittance. And my brother told her, don't take it from them. Okay? So we got nothing.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing a very deep story. Thank you very much.
I'm happy for that.
One of the sisters who went down, she was assisting one of my brothers at the university.
Oh, wow.
And that had to stop because we don't have the money. Okay.
All right. Thank you, dear.
I'm happy for that call, Daily, because I sat at the memorial today and I asked myself the question, how is it that nothing is being done up at the cemetery where the people are buried? And I was taken aback and I said, but if up there's where the people are buried, then something should be done at the site. And then I said, well, this is the first service that I've attended, or the 50th first time. Then I'm saying, well, when they leave here, I'm expecting to hear they say that we're going up by the cemetery. But everything come to a lull there, and I was disappointed.
I think we did that when we were in government because we concluded as a government that the memorial down here lacked the sanctity and the seriousness, if you wish, of the graveyard. When you have something in a graveyard, it sends a different message. So that's why we did it. And then you could see it's a large thing, so you could, But it is something I don't know. Kel, I think I was listening to you and coming down at the boat. They said Christina is similar to the boat that sank in Guyana the other day. They say it's a similar boat, and they say it's a river boat, just like Christina was a river boat. And they say it's a similar design.
With ballast, the same ballast. And that is something that is, in my view, it's very interesting to me. When you spoke, Kel, about the overtures of $100 and, Tulu, you talk about 100. That there has never really been any, in my view, any serious attempt to go after the British government, the English government, because we were a colony. This was 1970. We were 13 years out from being independent. England was our government, ultimately. 233 people lost their lives. This boat was a riverboat. And it is, one of the there's some interesting facts surrounding this Christina disaster if you look at it from an international perspective and from local going out and regional as well, the Guyana situation. It happened in 1970. England never adopted the European Charter of Human Rights until 1973, when it became part of the European Community, and which is, then the European Union, which then morphed into the European Union. But if you look at the European Charter of Human Rights, tragedies such as this in what you call overseas territories of a colonial power are really being taken seriously and looked at as human right tragedies, human right disasters that where responsibility in relation to whoever the ministerial persons, the ministerial portfolio fell, would have had to answer to the people who lost lives. And the fact that this was a riverboat operating in the high seas of St. Kitts and Nevis is another very telling question. Because if you take an ordinary car and put it on a racetrack, what is going to be the result? If you take, it's sort of like putting a square peg in a round hole.
A donkey in a horse race.
A donkey in a horse race. And so you're really looking at something here that is fundamentally flawed. And I keep wondering, what stopped the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and the people, our own people, local people, from pursuing some type of relief, some type of reparations in relation to this disaster?
But you notice how the government then operating La Amiga and the other boats, you notice at the back of the ticket now they say, you realize they say they're not liable.
There's a disclaimer, yes, there's a disclaimer which is sort of a commercial thing. But that is a little bit different. That is in the case of, there is an accident and so on. There's still liability. A disclaimer doesn't really waive liability completely if you look at the law on it. But and that is, commercial thing. Investigations would have to be carried out. And what I am really referring to here is the question of at least a thorough investigation where the British government would have been involved. There would have been a report given, handed down so that people could look through it and see what really happened and examine the whole thing. Instead of that, what has happened to us is sort of like what has happened to the people of the Congo region in Africa, where the Belgian people were hacked. Their hands were hacked off. There is a school of thought that somewhere between 5 million and 15 million were killed under the brutal dictates of King Leopold. But there hasn't been any real forensic investigation, and so we don't know. Some say 13 to 15 million, some say 5 to 10 million.
Even if it was 100.
Exactly. Even if it was 10 people who were killed.
What I found very interesting,
it needs investigation.
What I found very interesting about this whole thing, I was reading up on it this morning, and immediately out of the gate, the British said, we are not liable. This vessel was owned by the St. Kitts and Nevis government. We would have advanced the money to buy the boat, but that's as far as our liability goes, and nobody sought to challenge that. Just simply took it carte blanche.
And that was simply not true, because if you look at, there is not to get legal and so on here, but there is a case called Carltona versus the Public Works, an English case, came out in 1943. And there was a lord by the name of Lord Green who presided in the House of Lords over that case. And what he said in that case is that not only is the minister responsible in situations where the government has liability, there's something that has happened to the government, but the minister is constitutionally responsible. So that's the dicta of Lord Green in the Carltona case. There came a doctrine out of that case. And when we look at it, we were not a government. We were a colony.
Yes, right.
So our government
was British.
Was English. The English Parliament was ultimately in charge of us. The English government had oversight over whatever we did.
There was a governor here.
Exactly. To say, it was St. Kitts Nevis is really an excuse, really a sort of a boof.
Well, what I've never even heard of an apology, official recognition of no apology.
Nothing.
Because if you apologize, you have to go pay.
Yeah, but
you have to pay. So that's all.
But
yes, if you apologize, it means that you have taken some responsibility.
Yeah.
And then you can, and we can file for.
But what really gets my goat, gentlemen, is the fact that 56 years later, the federal government, which ultimately is responsible, because they're the ones who operated the ferry, they have made no overtures whatsoever to even try to find the relatives of those who survived and say, listen, just like we're asking Britain and the rest of the world
for 400 years,
for 4 years or 400 years of slavery.
It's only 56,
and they don't see the need then to formally to assist families with a university scholarship or some sort of something.
Nothing. I mean, in the case of Kenya, the British government is very brutal in that regard. In the case of Kenya, when there was a concentration camp situation with some ethnic groups in Kenya, they sued, and they finally got a judgment against the British government and got monies for it. So there is a precedent that if you're diligent in these things, but then it comes back to, no, I don't think we're too late. It comes back to governance and the responsibility of those who govern us now. I really think, Dr. Daly, that the Caribbean leaders, especially here in the OECS, are shirking a great deal of their responsibilities in relation to their people. I don't think that there is enough responsible governance that is taking place. There are too many unanswered questions. There are too many things that are left up in the air, and our population, our people who are ethnically African, who have come here not of their own free will, but dragged here as slaves, worked for 400 years, 300 years, and then let loose and say, okay, you're free now. You scramble for whatever land you could get, and that's what we are. Really.
And then had the audacity to pay the slave owners.
To pay the slave owners. But here we are now. Since 1952, we're able to have universal adult suffrage. So we could vote now to have leaders who can represent us. And I'm saying that is where the question lies, that our leaders now are supposed to be taking the bull, as it were, by its horns, and look at all of the variables, look at all the situations that may warrant further investigation, may warrant representation of the people that voted for them, and take it wherever it goes.
They're not
take
going
it
to
to
go
the
that
limit.
course here. Our leaders in the Caribbean, it's two things they're thinking. They get into office, how much I can get for myself, and how long I can stay into office, and this is where they focus.
Sadly, that is the situation, but we cannot relent. We cannot sit back and say, well, kumbaya, that is how it is.
I think nobody has ever launched a suit.
Exactly, we have to try.
Nobody has tried.
Nobody has tried.
My father always said to me growing up, Dwight, nothing beat a trial but a failure.
Yeah.
So keep trying. Try, and when you try, you may succeed. Then you thank God for your success. If you fail, try again.
Think of an example. Think of all the families we don't kill. Just think briefly of all the parents who died leaving 8 children, 6 to 8 children. Even begin with those as a starter. All of them
exactly.
Are what you call juveniles.
Exactly.
And you left them. And my position is the government at the time should have made representation to the British government to say, look, fellas, we have this major disaster. We are in financial trouble. We have this monoculture of sugar. Could you please make arrangements, A, for financial assistance, B, education, C, health care, so at least we show the people who suffered from this Christina disaster that there is something named a government, which is sensitive.
But even if you don't pay reparations, I mean, even the modicum of recognition to say, listen, we are going to build a proper memorial for the victims. I don't like the idea, because if you go to the site now, where Christina is buried 70 feet down, you're still finding skulls and bones. They're scattered. as if they never had anybody who loved
still
them.
a gravesite there.
It's still a gravesite.
And what that shows is the disparate nature of the whole thing. It's sort of like something happened and, well, okay,
it happened.
Yeah.
And I do not subscribe to that. I believe that every single person who perished had somebody, still have people, and they need to be properly interned. I do not subscribe to the fact that it's a watery grave and leave it like that. These people died a horrific death. Mm-hmm. We know who they are. They're from Nevis and St. Kitts, mostly from Nevis. Let us recover those bones and bury them properly, respectfully. I don't like this idea that nothing, let's leave everything there.
And the point is, what you're saying, I think we can all agree here that what we're saying amounts to the fact that this disaster is still not resolved. It's not closed. This is not a closed case. This is an open case. It may be a cold case, but it's an open case.
It's a painful case.
And it's a painful one. If you, the lady that you asked the question, do you ever get over the loss of your loved ones, of your two sisters? And her answer was, of course not. Never. Can't get over that. She'll take that to the grave. And so that, to me, is the nature of human rights. And when we talk about the European Charter of Human Rights, which the English have adopted, we have it in our law, that is where the starting point is. Where is the human rights here?
Good point. A question was asked if there are any markings above sea. Yes, Tanya, there was a buoy up until recently. I'm not certain it's still there. Perhaps it's still there, marking it. I know a couple of years ago it was there.
Yeah, there used to be a buoy there. When we were in government, I think Mr. Skeet, Sonny Boy Skeet, would take us out and we would
show you the buoy.
We would launch a reef.
So this is by no means settled. I do hope that several things need to be done. One, I believe that we need to recover the remains of those persons who lost, who we can find at sea. I think second thing need to be done, a proper memorial need to be erected. And compensation for the families. That has to be a part of the trifecta.
This has to be a governmental initiative.
Of course.
It has to be.
Let's take this call.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, you're on target.
Good afternoon, Mr. Daly and your co-host.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Listen, I don't want to minimize the trend in which you're going. But I had a discussion this morning with the guys on the good old days, and this is where we were going with it. Is that it's been 56 years since the Christina sank, and we suffered the consequences of that. And for 56 years we've been going over it and all that. And I'm trying to suggest that closure is good. However, we need to move on to another stage where we put things in place so that we don't have the same thing over again. Here is where I'm going with this. That boat was built in Guyana. Mr. Cozier stated some things that are factual about the boat. And could you imagine 56 years later, Guyana is going through the same thing with one of the same vessels them that they have using there, with the same problems that the Christina had. The Christina was a leaking vessel, taking on water, and it was unstable. I could remember seeing the captain coming out of the wheelhouse, coming back and asking people to move from one side to the next. I mean, that was the unstable situation that we had then. Here is another vessel, the Barima, owned by the Guyana government, and been running in the same sloppy condition. And they've suffered. I've been following this. There's a young man who has a podcast, and whereas back in the day they just cover it over, the Guyana government is trying to do the same thing by by saying they're going to leave the memorial, they're going to leave the vessel down on the water, 50 feet of water, and they're going to leave it there as a memorial. In the meantime, the captain, the mate, and the loading officer from the port is being dragged all over the place in handcuffs, charged with 72 counts of murder. And the very evidence that they need to use to convict these men or exonerate them, they decide to leave it down under the water. Because if they bring the vessel up, the vessel might, the evidence might point in a certain direction. There is evidence that's coming out now that the captains have been regularly threatened if you don't abide by our policies, which in times were overloading the vessel. There is talk about the vessel having a hole in the bows that they've been stopping up for the past 2 years with cement and sugar, cement mixed with sugar, and that's how they've been treating that instead of replacing the plate. And they've been working this vessel like a real old workhorse. Eventually, the vessel couldn't take it anymore. There were all sorts of conditions, and the evidence is coming out. The gentleman said here logbooks, pictures of logbooks with evidence that will point to the government instead of the 3 people they're trying to pawn it off on. Let's come back home here now to St. Kitts Nevis, where we have a number of fast ferries here. And while some people boast about the advancement of our ferry services, I could tell you I've had experiences that are not good. There are ferries here running with inside the cabin, within the cabin, there's a high volume of gasoline fumes, and that is dangerous. And I'm surprised, and I've been digging and realized that we have a department of marine something that should be responsible, because I was talking to somebody who told me they are the ones responsible. And I believe that Department of Marine Resources, should have regular checks on these ferries, board them. I had an experience a few Friday afternoons ago, the Friday afternoon before the apple cider had an incident, the Monday. I was on that same boat coming back to Nevis, and I was very uncomfortable. The structure of the boat. I will leave that there. The one I went over on is the one with the high volume of gas fumes. And that has been going on for a while because I've heard of it. I since heard that there was an explosion and somebody got hurt, spent time in the hospital, but it was covered up. And we need to do something about this. The Department of Marine Resources apparently is the one, and they need to do something about it before we have another Christina. We do not need another Christina disaster.
All right.
I don't know what it takes. I don't know what it takes for the authorities to understand this, but instead of trying to cover up things after they happen, let's be proactive and get these things sorted out. Put things in place. Put standards in place so that the general public could be safe.
All right. Thank you, caller, very much for that.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Cozier, this is the time of the show. The show is now yours. I kind of jumped on you, right?
This is a surprise.
Yeah, so we are going to move into the real reason why Mr. Cozier is here. He has a lot to share with us this afternoon. And so, yeah. And so we will allow him to tell us what he's going to speak about, but perhaps for those persons who don't know anything about you, Cozier,
yes,
perhaps you can give me a brief synopsis, not anything more than 5 hours,
Yes.
I know you're very verbose in your language. So you can briefly give a brief, truly brief description of who Kozia is. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, a background on myself is going to be very brief.
Okay.
It's not. I think most people in Nevis know who I am. A lot of people in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis would know who I am. If not all, I get surprises a lot in St. Kitts, where I would say hello to someone thinking it's a perfect stranger, and they say good afternoon or good morning or good day, Mr. Kozia, and then I say, well, I don't know you, and they say, oh, I know you, and we would have a conversation like that. So I'm not a complete stranger in St. Kitts and Nevis. I was the secretary of the great party known as the Nevis Reformation Party back in, I think, in the year 2000 or 2001, somewhere there. I became general secretary, taking the mantle from the late, great Hastings Daniel, a great man. And we would need a whole show for me to talk about Hastings' greatness. So I'll just say that for now. I spent the years between 2000 and 2006 working shoulder to shoulder with men like Hensley Daniel, Joseph Walcott Parry in opposition. We arranged many town hall meetings throughout Nevis. And town hall meetings are something that is quite dear to my heart in relation to opposition strategy. I think they're completely inimical to the process of getting the word out and touching the people. And I want to take this opportunity to encourage our Nevis Reformation Party Board of Executives to think about organizing town hall meetings and getting back out to the public, touching the people, listening to the people. Lead, because NRP is a party of leadership. NRP is a party that I feel very strongly about. I've been a supporter of NRP since before I could vote in the 80s when I was in high school. And one day, just before I was 18, I get down to the electoral office, and I was going to be 18 before the next election, so I was allowed to register my name at 17. And even though 18 was the year. So I have been an ardent supporter of the party. We served, we were able to get into government in 2006. And my focus has always been in relation to the people of Nevis. A focus of transparency and accountability in public office. And there are some questions that I want to ask at the end of what I'm going to say here, but I also want to paint a bit of a backdrop in relation to those years that I experienced in government as a junior minister, first in relation to the Premier's ministry, and then in 2008 I served under the auspices of the Hensley Daniel as a senior minister. I was his junior minister in trade and industry, consumer affairs, and so forth, import-export controls. I became very intimate in relation to the things like the Public Utilities Commission and the importance, prices, generally price of oil, so that we have a transportation system that is reliable, so that people could afford, have a good standard of living and could afford to live in Nevis in a very humane way. One of the things that I want to talk about is the fuel surcharge. And it was something that I had very close dealings with while I was in government. And we were able to avoid fuel surcharge, imposition of fuel surcharge on the people right up until 2013 when we demitted office. And it was swiftly reimposed by the CCM government. We now have fuel surcharge, unfortunately, that represents over 100% of your electricity bills. And I want to say this, I want the people of Nevis to understand this. We now have fuel surcharge that represents 100% and more of an electricity bill. That is something that was unheard of. It's something that should still be unheard of, because as I understand it, there's an equation that is used to compute fuel surcharge, and it ought not to be that high, as far as I understand it. But I wonder sometimes whether the fuel surcharge is simply just thrown onto the bills. The recklessness that we are seeing here on the island of Nevis in relation to the standard of living, the way people are living here, and the way government is relating to the people that it is ruling. And I use the word rule, not guardedly, but with prejudice, because that is what is happening. We're being ruled rather than governed. And so what we have is a state of affairs of Nevis, Dr. Daly, that is not good. It can't be described as good. And that is why the young man, King Cairo of Cotton Ground, said, no more sheriff in town. His carriage is breaking down. It hasn't completely broken down as yet. There's probably one or two nails still holding on under the carriage, but it is fast breaking down. And so we look at the years. I want to just briefly look at the years that I experienced in the government. In 2008, we had a hurricane. Omar, I think it was called. We had a global financial crisis. So that was a double jeopardy. Hurricane and global financial crisis. We were just in government middle of 2006. We were able to quickly put an economic plan together under Joseph Walcott Parry, and we were able to secure jobs. We had over 400 laid off people from Four Seasons. We had to brainstorm how to absorb those people into the economy. And we did. We did. And the good thing about it is that we maintain transparency and accountability throughout. The Honorable Joseph Parry, I could recall, went to bat in Delaware, the courts of Delaware, to keep Four Seasons here. He went to bat not only in Delaware, but he went to the banks, the local banks, and requested, or I would dare say demanded, that the banks look at small business people and do not refuse them loans. He encouraged the banks, the commercial banks, to lend small business.
Ease up the pressure on the small people. We're not seeing that now. We're not seeing that. What we're having now is a groaning of small business people. They're groaning, under the pressure, the weight of electricity bills, water bills, telecommunication bills, all kinds of bills. And then we have the Nevis debt. We have the cause of this factor. What is the Nevis debt? I had recently an occasion to visit the director of audit, lady by the name of Mistress Pike, in St. Kitts. And the director of audit is a constitutional position. I think it's under section 76 of the Constitution, if my memory serves me right. And that person, that office is responsible for the audit or the supervision of the audit process in St. Kitts Nevis. What I learned from the director of audit was frightening, to say the least. One of the things that I learned was that there was a request made by our Minister of Finance in Nevis, under the Nevis Island government, person who is the Premier, to have a staffer at the Statistics Department be sent to the United Kingdom for training in terms of statistic analysis and preparation of audit. And the response that was received by the audit office in St. Kitts from the Nevis Island government was that there was no money to facilitate the training of that staff. So, hold on a second there. If I'm reading you correctly, there is there was the possibility, or there is a possibility, of a staffer from the audit department of Nevis traveling to Europe, to the UK,
together with counterparts from St.
from
Kitts.
St. Kitts,
Yes.
in order to sharpen their skills
Yes.
on audit. And the Premier is telling the audit officer in St. Kitts, who is organizing this trip, we have no money.
We have no money to send that person. That person is not going. And, you know, you can check it with the director of audit.
But let me ask you a question then. Why do you think the Premier would have...
Well, when there is no transparency, when there is no accountability for audit reports are a fundamental part of governance. You take audit reports in retrospect. You look at the spending of government. You look at it back in I think 1994, 95. We had a situation where there was $40 million in loans that was recorded by the Nevis Island government as revenue. I don't know if you all recall that, but this is the effect of looking back at audit reports, because then you can identify errors. Maybe that was an error. Maybe the government was mistaken in its approach to spending, or maybe the government was willful and willfully mishandling and misusing the accounts, the people's money. But that is the way of public accountability. We, as the people of Nevis, have a duty, a responsibility to ask our public officials for account. If you send a child to the shop to buy a half of bread, some luncheon meat and cheese and sausage, and you give them $7.79, and it costs $5.25.
You want to change?
You want an accounting. If they come back and say it costs $12.39 and you only give them $7, then you're in a deficit with the shopkeeper. So you have to have an accounting. You have to know from that person that you sent out what is going on. And there is no difference really with the people, the Premier, who is the responsible person for finance in this country. There is no difference. Where is the money? How have you accounted for it? Where is the record of the accounting? And these are questions that are pertinent.
But Cozier but Daly, through you, if the government facilitates the improved technical ability of somebody in the audit department, that audit officer is going to come back to Nevis and say, hey, X is wrong. Hey, not this way, not that way. So the government doesn't want to put itself in a position where it is equipping an officer to hold its feet to the fire. In law they say...
But in deference to what you're saying, it should not be a matter of what you feel you need to do. It's a matter of what is constitutionally required.
It's a matter of process, exactly.
Right?
It should be a matter of process.
So,
but when the process is being absolutely ignored and kicked out the window, what do the people do? This is what I want to bring home to the people this afternoon. That if you have an errant, if you have an irresponsible employee, do you continue to tolerate that employee? Do you keep that employee and promote that employee every 5 years? You vote for that employee. And the same thing applies here. If you have an irresponsible government, if you have an irresponsible minister of finance who cannot give you the reports that are required of him by the process, by due process of law and the Constitution, and included in that is the need for training of the relevant people, the relevant officers in the statistics department and the department of audit and so forth. If that doesn't happen, what is the recourse? And I'm saying that there are many, many ways of dealing with that, including writing under the Freedom of Information Act, asking for the information that is pertinent and relevant, and if that is not forthcoming, lawfare. There is such a thing as lawfare. It's not just warfare. There is lawfare as well. And that takes precedence. And we have to understand in Nevis that it is high time that we disallow irresponsibility in government, that we disallow lack of transparency and accountability in government. And so that is one of the first points I want to make, because when we look at something like a fuel surcharge, a high fuel surcharge, for instance, it doesn't just happen out of the blue. It comes from a situation of debt, a desperate need to get revenue in order to service debt. But sometimes it's so desperate that it's untenable. Mm-hmm. Do we know what the Nevis debt is? A lot of the last time I heard the Premier say something about it, I think he said something in the region of 545 million.
Yeah.
Or somewhere there.
It's closer to 600 million.
It's closer to 700 million by my calculations, because when you look at the debt of the government owed to Nevlec, and you look at the debt of Nevlec owed to Delta, and you look at the fact that now you have a company called Sonoco, I think it's called, that has acquired the shares, the majority shares in both Delta and Sol. What we really have, all of a sudden, because this company is an external company, what we have in it is an exposure in terms of international debt. So the debt owed by the Nevis Island government, formerly, to Nevlec, which is the Nevis Electricity Department, is now owed to a foreign company, to an overseas company that is perhaps held by shares, but the majority shares is probably held by Japanese or American or whoever the business people are. Can we afford to expose ourselves as a small island nation state to that kind of risk? So these are the things that Nevisians are going to have to start to grapple with, because the situation as it is in terms of governance in Nevis is not getting better.
Before you get off the Nevlec end, because it's pretty much a matter of record that the debt owing to Nevlec by the NIA is now over $70 million. You're now put into that matrix the debt owed by Nevlec to Delta, which is the government is responsible for.
Exactly.
With another set of money.
Yes.
So when you add that to the declared debt of 545 million, you're well under 700 million in truth.
And you're not including there, Dr. Daly, you're not including the overdraft.
That's right.
Because the overdraft normally has a limit, a capacity limit of 75 million. And normally it runs up from 0 to 75 almost it seems like in 3 seconds. It's like a fast car in relation to how checks are written and money is spent. And so even though the ceiling is 75 million, a lot of times the actual overdraft is between 50 and 75 million. And when it gets to 75 million, it's hived off
as a loan
and put onto the debt.
Yeah.
It becomes hardcore debt. And so that is what is happening.
And then you start again.
And then you start afresh again. So it's like Humpty Dumpty or Wincy Spider going up the water spout, and down comes the rain and washes down. And then he climbs up again. This is what is happening. And it's not, I'm not saying this because this is being experienced by the Premier or his men. This is a debt for the people of Nevis, for you and I, our children, your grandchildren. Nevis people own this debt. It's just that the people who are managing it, being fiscally reckless and recklessly indifferent to the plight of the people of Nevis, that is where we are at.
Because right now, our debt, the interest on our debt, is about $3 million a month. Now, on when you start adding now any debt to go to the airport, or any debt to serve debt to service the Delta loan and all that, you're pushing pretty much the limits.
You're pushing $1 billion, Dr. Daly.
Yeah.
If you're looking at saying we're going to spend another $100 million on the airport, we have plans to do, I think the port here.
And the hospital.
The hospital hasn't been completed. The poultry farm is supposed to be done. I mean, at some point you have to ask yourself, are we being run in a responsible manner? I mean, when you ask these questions, where's the money coming from for the airport? You hear names like Mr. Drahi, a billionaire, who is an external person. He can jump in his private jet and leave tomorrow. He can sell his house. His house is 20 million or 50 million or whatever. He sells it and he's gone. We are left. Nivisions are left here with whatever debt is left. There is, again, on the back of that, just to digress a little bit, the Nisbet Plantation debacle. Nisbet Plantation was sold for $3 million. But before Nisbet Plantation was sold for $3 million, it had declared bankruptcy. There were 70 individuals in St. James's who worked at Nisbet Plantation. They had families to feed. They now have to find alternative work. Nisbet Plantation is no more. The other question that has to be asked, you have people are hell bent in that part of the world, in that part of the island. The government is hell bent, and when I say people, I mean people like Alexis Zook Jefferson, people like that, who's a rejected minister. Well, I don't even know what you call it, a rejected candidate, and is now an advisor to the premier and the head or the lead person in this airport development debacle. You have these are questions that are burning, because the Constitution at chapter 28 of the Constitution speaks to things like this. It speaks, and I'm saying it speaks directly to Alexis Jefferson, and I'll read it to you so that there is no ambiguity, no unclearness, so that people can, within the sound of my voice, can understand clearly what I'm saying. The Constitution at 28, section 28, speaks to the persons in Parliament, right? And it talk about subject to exceptions and limitations as Parliament may prescribe, and whether they can be qualified to be elected or appointed. This is a criteria that is being set out. And one of the points of the criteria is that government they can't hold a government contract. So you have A, B, C, and D. If he holds or is acting in any office or appointment, whether specified individually or by reference to a class or office or appointment, other than the office of elected member or nominated member of the Nevis Island Assembly or member of the Nevis Island Administration. And if it belongs to a defense force, it belongs to the police force.
So what you're saying essentially is that
those are disqualifiers.
He shouldn't have been appointed advisor because he already was a member of Parliament.
He's a sitting member of Parliament getting paid
by the federal government,
a salary by the federal government. And here is this man
given an advisor position in NIA,
which is a contract.
Yeah, of course, and
that is a contract,
and that's illegal.
Well, it's unconstitutional.
Yeah, but is it illegal?
Well, you have to look at the Integrity in Public Life Act to find out if it's illegal. You see, so that is how the Constitution works. The Constitution doesn't talk about illegality or legalities. It talks about rights, and he talks about disqualifications or qualifications of individuals.
So he shouldn't have been qualified.
He cannot be qualified, because what you have here is the Constitution talk about an act that the Parliament prescribes. And what does the Parliament prescribe? The Parliament has prescribed a number of acts that bode to transparency and accountability. One of them is the Integrity in Public Life Act.
But what can we do as a civilian population when these kind of infractions occur? Because
that is a very good question.
It seems as if the IPC, Integrity in Public Life Committee, has either no will or no teeth or no standing to take on these matters, which are very up, because the Premier has spoken clearly that he has given Alexis a contract.
Yes.
The things you're reading there from the Constitution should be affair with the chairman of the Integrity of Public Life.
He doesn't deny it.
Why is it then that we have not pursued, or they have not pursued these matters in court.
And this is what a government contract is defined by the Constitution. Government contract means, this is section 28(6). Any contract made with the government. Now, if the Premier is the Premier of Nevis, okay, follow me. If the Premier is the Premier of Nevis, and he's giving a contract to a special advisor, who is paying that special advisor?
The people of Nevis.
Is it the Premier's personal money?
No, the people of Nevis are paying.
So, government contract or with a department of the government. The Premier's ministry is a department of government. Or with an officer of the government contracting as such. That is the definition of the Constitution in relation to a contract. And so you have these ambiguities, these unclear areas in our administration that nobody is talking about.
Let me ask you a question. Who cares?
Well, who cares? That is right. It's the people, Tulu should care. Dr. Kelvin Daly should care. Former Minister Hensley Daniel.
But we know we care.
I should care.
But it seems that
my children should care. Your children should care. King Cairo cares, obviously, and he's doing something about it.
Yes.
But should it be left only to King Cairo?
No.
Or should we encourage the ordinary citizen
to care
on the street of Charlestown who is going to be asked to vote? The people in Hamilton, the people in Cherry Gardens, the people up in
Stony Grove,
Cane Garden. I want to talk about the gardens first. So Cherry Garden, Cane Garden. From Cherry Garden, those people must care because they are feeling the squeeze. So when you go as the Premier who is presiding over this type of mess, in my view, to ask these people to vote for you, shouldn't they have be prepared to ask you some questions in return? And this is one of the questions. Why is Alexis Jeffers the special advisor to the Premier? And he's a member of Parliament in the federal government. Why? That's a very simple question. That doesn't need a lot of brain power. Why? And it's an admission. The Premier has said it. Alexis Jeffers has admitted it. So there is no dispute in relation to the investigation as to whether that is a fact or not. That is a fact, but it is something that is unclear in relation to the why. Why is it happening?
Well, the Premier does not follow the rule of the law and the Constitution. There's lots of things in the Constitution.
I think we have a caller.
Yeah, yes, take this call. Good afternoon. You on a target?
Good afternoon, Mr. Daly.
Good afternoon.
Tulu and Mr. Manny Father was very, very good friends, the old fisherman.
Mr. Cozier.
What that man there is talking, he's talking a lot of sense. That guy there should not be no advisor on the airport. That is corruption. That's why you see Mark is running from the Integrity Commission. He's running. He's running from it because he's not doing a lot of nonsense and these vagabond liars around. They wouldn't even challenge the people in the court in the badness. I gone. Continue, young man. Carry on.
Yeah, Cozier, go ahead.
So this is, thank you, caller. Thank you. And I do agree that there's a specter of corruption that surrounds this. And whenever you have corruption, you have anomalies happening in the system. And so government is not just a truncated thing. There is a domino effect.
Let me ask you this then. Why, I'm certain the Premier is aware of what all we have been saying. Why do you think he does it? Why do you think he does it?
Well, obviously he does not care.
He
does not care.
He knows he's going to get away with it.
We had a situation, Dr. Daly, when we were before 2006, where we were aware that a certain minister of government who was responsible for land and agriculture had purchased 80 acres of land for 23 cents a square foot while he was a sitting member of government. We had that situation. I'm not going to relitigate it or go over what happened in our campaign in relation to that, but it was an issue of land, and it was an issue of a conflict of interest. It was a glaring conflict of interest.
All right, got another call coming in. Good afternoon, you're on target.
Yeah, blessed afternoon to the listening public. Blessed afternoon to you guys in the studio. Blessed afternoon to you, Mr. Cozier.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Yo, St. James, fire the man. St. James, fire the man. But you see, the nigger man not going to respect for people. You're not going to respect for St. James. So here we ask St. James and Nevis people today. Next time around, you go get a double beating. Next time around, we go beat him bad and like disappear. Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, close it.
And so, Dr. Daly, the specter of irresponsibility is something that is the responsibility of every citizen to check. We can't do it. Four of us can't sit in a room and solve this problem. We need all Nivision hands on deck, all adults. Once you're over the age of 18, you are responsible for these things, and you may not know all of the facts. And so you need to be brought up to speed with the facts. And that is why I am making an appeal again that the executive of the Nevis Reformation Party hit the ground in town hall meetings, arrange town hall meetings, and bring these facts to the people of our constituents. I don't know if you agree with me, Honorable Hensley Daniel. I know you were one of the people who led the charge in those days. Well, we did in between 2003 and 2006, Dr. Daly. We did, and we were faced with at that time a resolution. I don't remember the premier back then, Vance Amory, tabled a resolution, another resolution in June 2003 on secession, saying he's going to go back to the referendum on secession. So we had to go for 3 years, town hall to town hall, talking about this issue and talking about the viability of Nevis.
Is this case with Zook Jeffers prosecutable?
Well, of course, because it's a question. It becomes a legal question. The question is whether a sitting member of parliament in the government of St. Kitts and Nevis can publicly enjoy a contract with the government of Nevis. According to the Constitution and according to the Integrity in Public Life Act.
Is this a matter for judicial review or straight out suit?
It can be an administrative law question. You can simply go to the court and ask
for clarification.
Yes. Let the judge make a declaration as to whether Zook is right and I am wrong, or I am wrong and Zook must go. Mm-hmm. It's as simple as that. The judge will simply look at it and say, no, there is something wrong here, or no, Mr. Cozier, you're wrong. Okay. And so, these questions need to be asked. Somebody's.
Good afternoon, on target.
Yeah, Mr. Daly, quickly. It's just like you won for NRP and lost. Okay? NRP managed to reach into government. They can't appoint you as a minister. It's just like that. It's corruption. It's corruption to the core. And we got to stand up, and these worthless lawyers got to understand to represent we the poor people in St. Kitts and Nevis. That is what Billy Herbert used to do. That is what Charles Wilkins used to do. He never used to come out on the road and demonstrate, but he taught the law. Have a good afternoon again.
Thank you, sir.
I have to say, I want to take this opportunity to say condolences to the family of Mr. Charles Wilkin, KC. The caller is absolutely correct. He was a fearless man when it comes to the public, whether you liked him or not. He spoke his mind, and he spoke his mind in accordance with the law, the applicable law. And I want to give my condolences on behalf of myself and my family to the Honorable Gas Wilkin and the rest of the extended Kelsick Wilkin family there. But the gentleman, the caller, is absolutely correct in that what we are witnessing is a shock. I am persuaded that we are witnessing a shocked electorate the electorate is shocked at the conduct of the government, and they're wondering,
is it true?
Is this true?
Can it
It's
be
like
true?
you see something and you're seeing it, but you're blaming your eyes. You're saying, no, this can't be true. Because this is what is happening. The glaring conflicts that have revealed themselves in our society here in Nevis are mind-boggling.
Of course,
to say the least.
we have a two-tier society, because when Mr. Parry, you guys were in office, Navy-Johns knew everything that you did wrong, and they call out everything that you did wrong. Even when you're right, they find some excuse to say that you're wrong. The very same people are here, and they are listening to the glaring admission of the Premier and his administration of wrong, and they are not saying anything.
Let's take this call too. Good afternoon, Target. Good afternoon, Target.
Yeah, good afternoon to you fellas, man, and good afternoon to the guests there. Dwight, man, how you doing today, bro?
How are you, my classmate? Good. Nice to hear your voice.
Yeah, same here, man. Just keep pushing and keep doing what you're doing, bro. Me personally, looking back from out here, you know what I'm seeing happening in St. Kitts Nevis, man, is unbelievable. We're running a dysfunctional society. The checks and balances, whether they have them or not, we know that they're not working. Just listen to all what you have said just now. And man, there's so much things to talk about, bro. It ain't funny. I'll be on here, take up the whole show. You know, like you said, classmates, man. But a lot of these fellas, they don't know who I am. You can let them know who I am. And
we don't really.
there were many days that me and you sat on stools in Dakis and had lunch. And you know, I'm happy to see where you're at right now, man. And just keep up the good works. I only have one personal question for you.
Yes.
I had one personal question for you. Why you didn't get your name on the ballot any time in the past? And I don't know if you did in the past. I don't know, but if you didn't, why not? And do we expect anything from you going forward in that regard?
Burl, I like to speak
Thank you,
to
Burl.
the people. Thank you. I like to speak to the people. I like to describe. I like to follow. I'm a very good follower. I haven't tried my hand at elective office because I feel that perhaps I'm better suited at following.
No, you're better suited reassuring, not following.
Well, I reassure, I encourage, but I feel personally that, you know, I'm a leader in my own right. I want you who are within the sound of my voice, to research the leadership in a wolf pack. The lead wolf in a wolf pack is the last wolf in the line. And there is an order in the wolf pack. I like to think that I'm way back there.
Yeah,
Nobody suspects
the
that.
lady normally leads the pack.
But exactly.
Let's take this call here. Good afternoon, Target. Hello. I just lost that call. I guess they're gonna call back.
Yeah. So I mean, this is Burl Jones, my classmate. We were all in class in 1A1 to 5A1 in Charleston Secondary School.
Let's take this call. Good afternoon, Target.
Yes. Greetings, Mr. Corsia.
Yes.
That scenario you just outlined, does it apply to the deputy speaker?
It applies to any elected official, sir. Any elected official, and the requisite part of the Constitution deals with the Parliament. So it applies to members of Parliament specifically. Once you're in Parliament, you are supposed to conduct yourself. Parliament is a very august body, and it must be respected, whether you're on the government side or you're on the opposition side. Once you are a member of Parliament, this chapter, part 1 chapter 4, part 1, deals with the composition and the qualifications and so forth of Parliament and the disqualifications. Because if you are found, there are cases, law cases, where if you're found as a member of Parliament, it happened in Australia, the cases was Day, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Day, found to be enjoying a public contract while you are a member of Parliament, you are disqualified automatically. The court would ask you to resign. And so I am taken aback at the type of things that we are seeing here. And it's like an open day for people who are reckless.
So to the caller's question, the deputy speaker, she's not elected.
Well, she's not. Yes, she's not a member of Parliament, so to speak.
Okay.
She's a deputy speaker.
So this won't apply to her.
You know.
Okay, thank you, caller.
You just needed that information. Thank you.
All right, cool.
Yes. And so we have other glaring conflicts of interest, for instance. We talk about Neville.
But before you get to that, since you have a situation where you have a sitting member of Parliament, there's a speaker in position, there is the leader of Parliament, do they have any responsibility to point these issues out to the sitting member?
Yes, yes.
Well, why haven't they?
Because they have not been written to by the concerned party, the concerned citizens movement or the Nevis Reformation Party. This is where party politics must take hold. And this is where the responsibility of the party comes to bear. That the party secretary, when I was the general secretary of NAPI, I wrote letters every day. Every month there was a letter, OAS, this place, that place. They used to be tired of me because I wrote letters and asked questions. And that is what I think is missing here. That these people are comfortable in
knowing
their ignominy, and it's called doggery that is happening.
That because they realize nothing is being done.
Nobody's challenging them.
All right, let's take this call. Good afternoon, you're on target.
Dr. Daly, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to your guests and your regular guests.
Yes.
And good afternoon to the listening public. Let me just Tulu first. Tulu, when the shoes span 1 foot, yeah, right. But when you go on the other one, the can is start to burn. So no expect who used to pressure then I go still continue the pressure now. Somebody else know how to do the pressure in there.
I expect them to do it.
Yes. And secondly, what your special guest actually saying that a double dipping. And I will not forget the thing. Let me deal with Monstrat. He got one doctor that win his seat. So guess what? Get one ministry. So the government gonna Parliament. Listen, not like what Premier Bradley they do. Just give gonna Parliament and draft one law that the doctor can continue his work in the hospital. And guess what? DFID said no. It can't work like that there. That's a corruption. Why? Because he draw one Parliament salary. Just that. You get me? And then now, for go draw one other salary again, because the other salary is still come from the church,
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So you're getting 2 salaries from the treasury.
2 salaries from the treasury. that alone a corruption. So, what Mr. Cozy I say right, but the point about it, and did NRP now filing thing? No. So then therefore them will continue go and one and do right. So that makes Mr. Cozy for come now to open up some eyes. For sure. So now the letter supposed to write. Now I open now the letter supposed to write.
Well, I suggest, I see Jetty Taylor is saying that on Wednesday night you're going to have some fun with the premiere on this.
Master God.
Master God, you going to hear me though?
So
Go ahead.
I want to read 28.5d. 28.5d. And I've read the first part of it, but the disqualification comes in D. It says, subject to any exceptions or limitations prescribed by Parliament, that person, like Mr. Jeffers, has any such interest in any such government contract as may be so prescribed. And that is the disqualifier. And then we look at the definition of a contract. So what I'm saying is, if you are in the business of Parliament, you're in the business of the people. You're in the business of ensuring good governance for the people. What call do you have to be gaining a contract with the same government? It's a clear conflict of interest. But then we have, again, a premier who has a law firm. And we have to ask ourselves the question. The premier's law firm is his law firm. There's a case, I think it's Janice Daniel versus the premier. And Adrian Daniel as co-executors of the estate of Simeon Daniel. And in that case, Justice Lorraine Williams made an edict that the premier is the only equity partner, the owner, absolute owner of the law firm Daniel Brantley. Yes? So he's the benefactor. Everything flows to him. He might delegate some ownership, and beneficiaries might be there, but he is the owner. And here you have this law firm is the known representative of Nevlec. Now, what is Nevlec? Is Nevlec a company, a great big company that that you can build and become rich as a law firm out of it? No. Nevlec is the Nevis electricity department that has been pushed inside of a company for the sake of administration. The only reason you have Nevlec is because it brings order in the form of a company, so that it was also meant to be prepared to become a public company and floated on the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, where all of the people of Nevis would have been able to buy shares in Nevlec and be able to get some distributions at the end of the year once Nevlec is profitable. But here you have the premier of the country, the minister in charge of finance. His law firm represents Nevlec.
And he is the minister for Nevlec.
And he's the minister for Nevlec. So if that is not a conflict of interest, then I don't know what is. It is mind-boggling, it is baffling that people could be subsisting under this type of representation and not cry out to Almighty God for help.
And then it goes back to what I said, that we have people who knew and said that this was wrong. When Hector was minister, and he and Patrice, they had this law firm, whoever the law firm was, and was doing some business. They felt that it was corruption because of this.
Mm-hmm.
Although Patrice was by himself, Patrice was not a member of the government.
Was not, yeah.
Here it is that the premier is the minister for Nevlec.
Yes.
Nevlec is paying him a salary. And his law firm is getting a salary from Nevlec. And people are saying nothing wrong with this.
Not only that, his law firm was also the representative for Delta.
Who playing the
Which owns Nevlec. So it's,
oh boy.
I want, I feel like I need a shower.
Yes, that's exactly how
you feel so filthy.
The people of Nevis should feel, because it's as if we are slithering through a slimy pit of slimy, slithery things.
Not enough soap.
No soap
But
at all.
I want people to understand where you laid out there, Kozia. because we've been talking about it for a while, but you have crystallized it for a lot of us. The minister responsible for NEVLEC is the premier, right? Which itself is a conflict. But then he's also the law firm responsible for Delta, which NEVLEC owes a bunch of money.
Exactly.
And he's also the law firm for
and it would be
Delta.
interesting to see which law firm presided over the merger
of Sunoco
of Sunoco and the Delta
Sol and Delta.
The Delta Cell.
Good afternoon, on target.
Yeah, quickly. Mr. Kozio, you have real conflict in for instance, heading CCM as the premier, and every government legal work going to my firm. That's corruption.
True.
That is corruption, and that's happening in Nevis with the firm. This guy needs to resign. He's cancerous for Nevis. But let me tell you, Mr. Daly and Carly, you all have material and use them. Use the town hall meeting. Mr. Crosby is so right. That is mathematic working these back down here. Town hall meeting. Educate the damn people, man. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you, sir. The matter Kozia, the matter with Nisbet is perhaps one of the most telling issues. Because at one point, the premier's law firm was representing both the seller and the buyer.
Yes. I have seen the documents. They went to the law firm went to the judge at the time here, and it's the quickest insolvency order I've ever seen. They went to there, the order was signed, so the Nisbet was bankrupt in mid-year, mid-flight, while in sail.
Even before any settlement was made as to what was owed to NEVLEC, what owed the Inland Revenue.
Nothing. There was no
owed to
settlement at all.
The people of Nevis lost over $4 million
exactly
in that sale. And the interesting thing about this sale, Spencer Brown would have been asked by the bank that was buying the property to do an evaluation. The evaluation came back at $8 million US. The property was sold for $3.5 million. All right? So it begs the question, why the rush to settle for $3 million when you have a properly constructed appraisal by a sitting member of the NIA?
And you're forgetting something, before any of this happened, the premier's law firm pocketed $70,000 US.
Yes, right. Legal fees.
In legal fees.
Yes.
So all of these are burning questions. I believe.
How does he survive this?
The people in Cane Garden must have an answer, must question this, and must have answers to this. Why is this right for the premier to be benefiting like that while he's the premier of Nevis, the same man that is going to come to you in Cherry Garden, whether you're Nevisian or Guyanese, whether you're a Monstratian, Nevisian, Dominican, whatever you are. If you are in Cherry Gardens and the premier comes to ask for your hand in marriage as a voter, he must answer the question as to whether his law firm benefited from the demise or the bankruptcy and then the subsequent sale of Nisbet Plantation. He must answer the question as to whether he and his law firm, and he is beneficial owner of his law firm, benefits and continues to benefit from NEVLEC and the relationship between NEVLEC and Delta, which is a debt relationship, and now the foreign sale, the Sunoco.
Since we are talking about Nisbet and the government and the Daniel Brantley, I have had information that with that case with Nisbet in the court, NEVLEC would have had an interest in that matter in the court, and that the premier is the retainer for NEVLEC to represent NEVLEC, but his law firm did not represent NEVLEC in that matter. NEVLEC had to get a lawyer while his law firm represented somebody who was in the conflict.
Delta.
Okay.
And that is known fact because the judgments are there.
So it is there. So the premier's law firm, which is he's the beneficial owner of the law firm, he made money all around, but NEVLEC is paying him to represent them, when it comes to represent Nevlek, he did not represent Nevlek.
He was actually supposed to file, his law firm actually was supposed to file a claim against Nisbet, because once he goes into liquidation, into bankruptcy, only those persons who have standing claims will be paid. If there's anything left, they might get something. But those who have judgments before the court, they are the first to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Nevlek didn't have a claim did not make a claim in court, you know.
Their legal representative did not
put in a case for judgment.
And not only, and then this is important because not only is that he was a legal representative for Nevlek, he was also the minister responsible for Nevlek. So as the minister looking after the interests of the people of Nevis, who is paying him, his duty was to make sure that Nevlek gets something out of the deal.
But not only Nevlek, you know, he's a minister of finance. And the Ministry of Finance was left with a bill of $3.5 million for back taxes. And he's the Minister for Finance.
And allowed that to slide.
That should have been all part of the negotiations to make sure the government gets its money first.
But Dr. Daly, this is what I'm saying, that these are things that warrant investigation.
By who?
These are by the Secretary General of the Nevis Reformation Party. That he must be written to and directly ask these questions to clarify these matters. If he refuses, then he is taken before the court and let the judge ask him the same question. You see, that it's a simple thing, you know. Lawfare is a very simple thing. It starts with a question.
Is it legal?
Is it legal? Is it beneficial to the people? Is it correct? Is it devoid of fraud? Is it transparent? Have you been accountable? And if those questions can be answered in the affirmative, then you're free to go. But then if you're failing to answer those questions, then the judge needs to get into the equation. And that is where you solve the problem. That's how this problem is solved.
Okay, let's take this call. Good afternoon, you're on target.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Daly.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to your panelists there. I'd like to say hello to Dwight.
Yes,
this
good
is Everson.
Good afternoon.
Everson.
Schoolmate.
Everson Powell.
Yes.
Yes.
The Iron Horse.
There's a question. Yes. Yes. There's a question. I asked a few times when I call into the program. There seems to be like there's no justice there. The judicial system is broken. My question is, how can you get it fixed? Because it's obvious that the premier gets away with everything. I also see it happen in Sinkets with the what's his name, Mr. Godwilkin, right? That he had like outstanding charges against him and was still able to obtain the position that he's at now. I mean, how do you fix those kind of wrongs? Because when these kind of things keep happening, it's like it's a lawless society. Yeah, people will then choose to how should I call it? Take things into their own hand. Because if you have somebody which is doing wrong and keep getting away, and let's say one of your family member or you yourself get into some kind of problem, okay? There's no justice for that person, but they're gonna bring charges against you and hold you accountable. How do you deal with something like that? I'll listen off here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And the caller, the proposition of the question that the caller raised is absolutely correct. How do you deal with things like that? And he's listening, obviously, in St. Martin, but this is a question for all of the people of St. Kitts, and I dare say St. Kitts and Nevis, because a lot of the issues that are affecting us here in Nevis are affecting the people of St. Kitts as well.
But let me ask you a cause here. These are matters of interest to all sides of the coin, whether NRPCC, I mean, otherwise.
Yeah.
This is a matter for our own survival of the country.
Exactly.
Why is it left just to NRP to fight these battles?
Because NRP, I am persuaded, is the government for Nevis. Not just a government. It is the people that are qualified to lead Nevis by track record. If you look at the track record of the Nevis Reformation Party, there is no other party
even close
that is close to this party. And that is why to him that is given great
responsibility. Much is expected.
Much is asked.
That's a biblical.
But so if NRP is the rightful leader of Nevis, then NRP is responsible for finding out these things. I remember.
But how do you get the resources? Because it costs quite a bit.
Yes, the resources are, it's always a problem. But when people, when there is a will,
there's a way.
A political will, there is a way. And people, you would be surprised at how many people are looking on. I remember when we were, the Nevis Reformation Party became the government of Nevis in 2006. And there were investors who had been waiting for the government to change. People who we never knew, people who had never approached us. And they came into cabinet and said, Mr. Joseph Parry, Honorable Joseph Parry, we have this, and they rolled out their plans and so forth. We have this, and we were waiting because we looked at what was happening in Nevis, and we could not participate.
But it's a similar thing that's happening now.
It is happening
because
again.
You heard Brantley says he has done everything in his power,
and there is no
people walk away.
I have news for Brantley, for the Premier. There will be no honest, conscientious investor that will invest in this type of Nevis.
That's true.
Never.
You're absolutely correct.
Absolutely not.
Correct.
Because investors are not silly. They're not stupid. They didn't make the money that they're going to be investing, out of the sky. They didn't pull it off a tree. They know that before they are going to commit their money to a government, to a place, they want to look into it. They want to investigate it. They want to do what you call due diligence. And the first due diligence that they're going to start is with the leader. Who runs this place? Who has the ultimate responsibility of making decisions for this place? And when they see a leader
so conflicted,
who is the leader, and his law firm is in the slips catching anything that comes off the bat, and he has all of these tendrils and these men around him who are all conflicted, they're going to say, no, something is wrong here. And they're going to want to take a second look.
I'll go someplace else.
And they're going to, ultimately, they're going to look elsewhere, and they're going to say, well, look, maybe St. Martin is a better, maybe St. Lucia is a better bet, maybe Anguilla is a better bet. And if you go to Anguilla, Anguilla is a justification for what I'm saying, because the development, I don't know how long ago you've been in Anguilla, but the development in Anguilla is stupendous.
Leaps and
I mean,
bounds.
billions and billions of dollars are being invested in Anguilla, and honestly so, checks and balances are there. And why can't that be the same for Nevis? The reason that is not the same, I put it to you, Dr. Daly, is because of the lack of transparency, the conflicts, and the lack of accountability in the government of Nevis. And then you have, not to go on and on, but then you have this state of affairs. You have a backdrop that is painted from 2013 to 2026, 13 long years. And against that backdrop, all of a sudden you hear, we have a great savior, a great white hope coming from Belgium, in the form of destiny. So, are we to ask the question that the pivot to destiny that Brantley has made is because of his abysmal failure to attract business into Nevis, business investment into Nevis? Yep. And here you have the Destiny project, the Destiny people are Brantley's clients. Nowhere, this is an unprecedented thing, nowhere in the Eastern Caribbean, nowhere in the wider region of the CARICOM. No, in fact, I haven't seen a case internationally where a minister or a leader of government, a premier, is promoting an investor the way Brantley is promoting Destiny. I have never seen it. It is an unprecedented act. We have not seen this. And it leads me to think that it is born out of, I would say, desperation to try to get something going in Nevis, because Nevis desperately needs a boost. But it is also born out of selfish greed, because the person that is bringing the the meat to the market is also
his wife. His wife. I mean, say it. It's his wife. She stands to make tens of millions of dollars.
So when you look at the millions and millions of dollars, I think somebody's calling in again.
Good afternoon, on target.
Good afternoon.
Go ahead, please.
Let me ask a question. So, if Premier Brantley are the Premier, but now his firm still rely for Neville, and is the government owe Neville?
Yes.
The law firm.
I didn't catch that. You broke up a little bit.
I think the law firm still get paid, whether it be monthly, year.
Yeah, of course, they are on a retainer.
Yeah.
Every month.
So, in other words, now, you know, a laugh after me because I want.
You're breaking up bad.
You hear me better?
You're breaking up.
Go ahead, please.
Any better?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yes. So, in other words, now, one man did this, right? And let's say that's wrong. So, somebody they know cry out for help to get some food for the man. When the food comes, the man will cry for help, still eat up food and still say that the man is dead. Or something like that.
It is exactly like that.
Okay then.
All right.
and so we have to ask ourselves some serious questions, Dr. Daly. One of the questions that we have to ask ourselves is in relation to the debt of Nevis. We have a situation where, as you know, there's an agreement under this so-called SSZ Act that is said to have been sent over to the Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew, by the Premier of Nevis for his signing or his approval. And we have to ask ourselves the question, the first question that comes to my mind is why? Why is the Premier, who has gotten an investor and he has successfully gotten his real estate companies through his wife to sell to this investor, and the investor is ready to do business, why would the Prime Minister need to get involved in this agreement? And the only reason that I can think of is that there is a constitutional, because Nevis has its purview. It has, I believe when we last checked it, it was about 94 to 95% autonomy. Mm-hmm. We're autonomous, except for national security, health, and so forth. So, is it that this project will affect our national security?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Is it that this project will affect our health? Is it that this project will affect our education, our ability to educate our children? And so on and on. We have, is it that this project will affect adversely NASPA, which is the National Nevis Seaport Authority? These are questions that we have to ask. And when we see the dance that is happening between the Premier and the Prime Minister, we have to ask ourselves another question. Who is opposing this? Who is the leader of the opposition in the transaction where the premier of Nevis, doubling as the leader of the opposition, presents a contract for the approval of the Prime Minister? So where is the role for the leader of the opposition?
There's none.
There's none.
There's no role.
There's none. Because
the leadership role, the leader of the opposition had been subsumed
into the premiership.
under the premiership.
Yeah.
And he is the PRO for Destiny. What Dr. Drew and his cabinet and parliament need to do is to act almost as if they're the opposition and ask the right questions.
So now the Prime Minister is now the leader of the opposition?
Yes. He has put him in that position.
And these are the burning questions that's why I say not just for the people of Nevis, but for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis.
What bothers me, Kozia, is the abject silence or near silence for something this existential threat, not only to Nevis but to St. Kitts. I am really perplexed by the almost seemingly acceptance or the lack of real pushback from the parties on St. Kitts, PAM and PLP. I mean, they give lip service. Yes, it's bad, but we have not seen any mobilization of action against this project. You know, it is mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing because we have now learned, and the Premier has indicated, that Destiny will have the right to explore geothermal energy within the zone. Mm-hmm. How are these things not brought up in parliamentary debates in St. Kitts?
But not only Dr. Daly, I don't know if you've heard about the advent of data centers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've been doing some research on the billionaires and what they're up to. Because, you know, the billionaire class is a special class of people. There are about 3,000 of them worldwide. And they're a special class of people.
They want what they want.
A billionaire, in my mind, the specter that is raised in my mind when I contemplate the thought of a billionaire is that, and this is not pejorative to anybody, but it's like a monkey in the wilderness. And that monkey has embarked upon a plan to heap up all the bananas in the forest. 1 billion bananas. Then what is going to happen to the other monkeys?
Starve.
Well, maybe they starve, maybe they find another forest to go to. But that monkey is recklessly indifferent
to the plight of
the plight of the other monkeys. And that is what a billionaire represents in my trend of thought.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did this research, and there was this lady by the name of Karen Howe, H-A-O, Chinese American lady. It's a doctor, Dr. Karen Howe, H-A-O. And she's an MIT researcher, graduate researcher from MIT. And she has analyzed, she's an engineer and scientist. And she has analyzed the new billionaires,
Mm-hmm.
the trend of the billionaires, and their needs. And she has identified, I mean, it's on, you can Google, YouTube it or whatever they call it. And so, because she has a program there. The need for land,
Mm-hmm.
the need for clean water, and for this they're targeting small and developing countries,
Mm-hmm.
small island states and developing countries. Some in Africa, some in Central America, and now we have this example in Nevis.
So they're looking for easy mark.
Yep.
Easy prey.
Target.
Yes, easy targets. And so what you have is these billionaires targeting remote places, even in the United States, like Arizona, the outliers of the United States where they're, desert land and so forth. And the chief reason is the exploitation of a business model that they have come up with. And part of this is coming and promising
jobs,
millions of dollars
Mm-hmm.
to small, vulnerable countries in exchange for contracts, there comes the word again. In exchange for contract for complete sovereignty.
That's what they want.
That's the contract.
The bottom line.
The contract for complete
sovereignty. That's what they want.
And the end game is to put data centers on these lands.
Yeah.
So they're going to do whatever else, housing and whatever, but a data center
is the ultimate goal.
Is their ultimate goal, because the data, the rewards of the data center now is not only from an economic perspective, it's militaristic. So the military is backing up, is looking for space for their war, machines and so forth. And so data centers have proliferated the United States to the point of saturation, oversaturation.
There's one heading to Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
Well, two.
And that's a mistake. Wherever they're found in the world, it's a mistake for a small government, even like Trinidad and Tobago. They may think of themselves not as small as us, but they are small in the scheme of things. And what these predators are looking for is to suck all of your clean water, because data centers cannot operate without water. So when you look at the Destiny project there, what you're looking at is the sequestration of an entire bayfront where they can put something into the sea and do a desalination plant, and they'll have all the clean water that they have.
And they have geothermal on site.
And then they'll have geothermal. So power, water, and
a weak government.
Power, water, and a wall.
And a wall.
You see, and that is what and
PWW.
Yes. Once they acquire these lands, there is no, according to Dr. Howe, no other justification for these billionaires to merge with the small community.
They're isolated.
So they isolate. That is the purpose of the wall.
Yep.
They build a wall, you stay there, we stay here. Not only that, we're talking about 2,600 acres of land, I think. Subsumed in that is 238 acres of land that, when I was in the government cabinet with the Honorable Joseph Parry, we talked about Stockpen.
Stockpen, yeah. Sold by National Bank.
I was in the delegation that met with the IMF in Bastia in St. Kitts, and there was a lot of talk about the land. St. Kitts ceded 8,000 acres of land to National Bank. We were looking, there was a sovereign guarantee that St. Kitts had given us for geothermal. That was terminated. That was revoked, withdrawn. We had 238 acres of land. I think the last actual piece of land owned by the government, but that was outside of the corporation, in Stockpen. And in his wisdom, the Honorable Joseph Parry said, we are going to mortgage this to National Bank. A mortgage, not a ceding, as they did in St. Kitts. What they did in St. Kitts was simply give it to them and wiped off the debt. So it was a debt reduction tool. And then the IMF, assisted. In this case, I think I've heard some talk up from the Premier that this land is sort of already compromised by the Nevis Reformation Party in government, and that it is justification, therefore, for him to sell this land to the Destiny. Nothing is further from the truth, and that will trigger a lawsuit against the government and against the Premier to injunct that piece of land from going into Destiny. So that is something that, again, people must begin paying ultimate attention to. There are people who are looking at it. I have a meeting with a gentleman, I won't say which is later this weekend, but there are people who are concerned about, now from all kinds of walks of life, concerned about the activity that the Premier is engaging in with these people on behalf of the people of Nevis.
Let's take this call. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Target. Yeah.
Hello, good afternoon. This is Livingstone Williams, a.k.a. Stoneman. Talking about Stockpen, do you gentlemen have any idea how the government originally got Stockpen, or from who?
I think it was gotten from Roland Archibald, if I'm not correct.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Roland Archibald, a son of the soil. He sold it to the government. I think he might have been under Thatcher. And what did Rapture buy those lands for?
To the people of Nevis.
The people of Nevis, right? And those hooligans we have in charge want to sell it, and they want us, the landowners, and we have a premier who is a pathological liar, because I heard him, I'm going to repeat myself, a couple of weeks ago on Freedom Radio saying, to his knowledge, he knows of no landowner which is showing dissension, and we are all desperate to sell our land. Well, I am Livingston Williams, I'm a landowner. I've called him repeatedly. Carl Manners is a landowner. Janet Greyholt is a landowner. She has said she won't be selling. Mr. Gaskell, I think, still has some kind of land. He won't be selling. And the Premier, think of this, our Premier is on record of saying that his land is his land and he is not selling it. So why would they want to sell his wife and all her handlers to try to acquire land at such a favorable rate, sometimes down to $1 a square foot, try to fool the people? These people do not want to have nothing to do with us, because there's numerous people have said, well, look, I will lease you my land, or why don't we do a partnership? And they are flatly refused. And people need to realize that these individuals are very selfish. They don't care about what we want or where we will end up. Once they get what they want, they are prepared to buy us out, just like a prostitute. Depending upon the service you provide, they are willing to pay. And I would love to know what they have paid our politicians to be subservient to them. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And you know, Dr. Daly, the caller is absolutely correct. You know, they are willing to buy us like a prostitute. But you know, they have bought one prostitute. I think there's one leading prostitute in this country, and they've already bought that prostitute.
Mm-hmm.
So there are no other prostitutes available. There are no other prostitutes in Nevis but that prostitute. And I want to reinforce what I'm saying here by talking about the way colonial powers have treated us as African people, and how we as African people have responded to the treatment of colonial leaders across the board. In Africa, you have a list of colonial leaders that were subject to assassination or exile. Even Haile Selassie had to flee Ethiopia when the Italians under Benito Mussolini invaded. He later came back. But you had Nkrumah from Ghana, had to flee. Eventually, he came back, was assassinated. You have Lumumba, Patrice Lumumba from the Belgian Congo, as it was called at the time. You have Sankofa from Upper Volta, now called Burkina Faso. All of these are leaders, and many, many more. You know, you're not even going to the southern African states as yet. You know, Mozambique and
Zimbabwe,
and these places, where they have mercilessly, through their intelligence organizations, killed our leaders. But what I want to talk about is the methodology that has been used by these intelligence sources from foreign countries to kill and maim and disable African people and their leaders. That when you examine critically how they have done this, they have depended upon the persons on the ground in the countries. They have not only depended on the persons to carry out these assassinations, they have depended upon the persons who are closest to these leaders. And what they have done, you know, these are some of they either compromise you with money or they buy you. And these leaders who have been assassinated could not be bought. And so what they did, in the case of Patrice Lumumba, for instance, it was his own tribesmen who killed him.
For money.
His own tribesmen to kill him. The case of Sankofa in Burkina Faso, it was the friend, the very best friend of Sankofa.
Put a bullet in his head.
Who killed him.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you look at our equation and our leader here, the person who is promoting, I'm not going to say the prostitute who is promoting destiny, but the person who is promoting destiny, it's obviously bought. And what is happening is that the same equation is just playing over again. They have compromised him, and he now takes charge of their mission to deal with the people. And this is something that I would have thought in this day and age that our people would have been more aware of, this type of strategy, where you have a foreign power who has they've come in under the guise of citizenship, but they have billions, and they're not saying, what is your national debt? What is the Nevis debt?
Mm-mm.
They're not saying, well, your Nevis debt is about $700 million. That is about $250 million US. Let us wipe it off because we love Nevis. They're not saying that. They're saying we're going to give every Nevisian $30. We're going to give them then they said 30, okay, you're complaining about 30, we're going to give you $100. And what do you have? The very premier is on his show, on the soapbox, on his platforms, talking about urging people to imagine what would happen to a family of four. A family of four is going to have $400 US. That's $1,000. This is the premier that we are tolerating. And I'm saying to the people of Nevis, enough has to be enough. We need to open our eyes as Nevisians. We need to get the word out. We need to talk to each other civilly, not argue, but talk about these facts civilly and weigh these leaders in the balance. And if they're found wanting,
get rid of them.
Get them out of the Nevis.
I would have listened to part of the broadcast when the premier would have called in or was called from Freedom, and he indicated, and the persons agreed with him, it is time for us to move on from all these historical facts, that we are supposed to put history behind us. We're not supposed to be living in the past, that we should be man enough to manage ourselves, not looking at the history to guide us. But there's also a school of thought which most of us adhere to. If you do not respect the past, it will come back and bite.
It's going to come back. So you have to know the past.
Let's take this call before we continue. Good afternoon, you're on target.
Good afternoon, Livingstone Williams, a.k.a. Stoneman again. Listen, the Premier keeps talking about that he has to provide for 300 jobs a year of school leavers coming out and using that as a reason for destiny. Do you believe that they would be able to generate 300 jobs every year for the citizens of Nevis?
While the Premier is talking about jobs, Jensen, who is the man behind this project, would have said to us that we must look at Destiny as a homeowners association. He never said to us that it's a business hub. It is a homeowners association. Yes, if they're going to build the houses, after they build the houses, what's going to happen?
But I think to the caller's question, we were showing numbers that said 5% at minimum or maximum will be in division.
And excuse me, Dr. Daly, well, can I correct you? Because again, I've seen parts of that proposal, that clandestine document, and it doesn't guarantee no 5% to no division. It has said that they estimate that 5% of the workforce will live outside
Yeah, I was getting to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just meant to clarifying that. There is no guarantee whatsoever.
None.
That anybody will be employed from Nevis. What we are assuming by extension, because they're living outside of the zone, we are assuming they're division, because of course it'll make sense if you have workers, you wouldn't want them within the zone, and you can live outside of the zone. But there is nothing guaranteed here. But to Causia's point, Tulu, is the fact that if this is a glorified data center or a Bitcoin mining project or whatever else, there's even less need for Nivisions to be working there.
That's true.
So there's no guarantee of anything, matter of fact.
The point
Well, could I say something? In the earlys, when I questioned the Premier's wife, and she refused to speak to me, I told her, well, I am not speaking to you no more about this matter. So you find somebody who is going to speak to me. And about a year later, she turned up with a gentleman, Graham Brooks. And his claim to fame is that he targets cash-strapped jurisdictions with the aim of establishing a sovereign nation. And he told me, he didn't call no name, but he told me it's a Belgian, is the proprietor and the leader, and he wants to establish his mansion and surround himself with family and friends. Didn't hear them talk nothing about no hotels, data center. They might come, but this is what I was told in the initial stages.
All right. Thank you, caller.
Have a good afternoon.
All right.
Yeah, and so, Dr. Daly, the caller is absolutely correct, because you're not seeing any development plans, really.
Mm-hmm.
What you're seeing is an agreement for sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
What you're seeing is all of a sudden is an act coming out of nowhere called the SSC. No, it's like when you get up in the morning and you have these weird plants, these fungus that pop up in your yard. Zombie umbrella, they call it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like you get up in the morning and all of a sudden this SSD is in your yard, like a zombie umbrella.
You think that the government wrote the SSC, or he was given?
Well,
to them?
it was given.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously because what the caller is saying there is completely in line with the research of Dr. Karen Howe.
Mm-hmm.
What she's saying is they come in, promise millions of dollars to small, vulnerable countries in exchange
They take your sovereignty
for a contract for complete sovereignty.
Sovereignty. That's the same thing Roger Ver said.
So it's a quid pro quo.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying, look, we're going to give you growth. Your people are going to get work.
We're going to get dialysis.
You're going to get a dialysis machine. We're going to finish the
hospital wing.
The corrupt hospital wing that you have stolen and plundered millions of Nivision dollars for in the hospital while leaving people to die.
Mm-hmm.
My good friend Andrew Merchant had a stroke recently, had to be flown to Trinidad. There are people, with kidney, renal failures, renal problems. They have to be going over in the shark-infested waters to St. Kitts on a weekly, sometimes daily basis to get dialysis. And this is a problem that has gone back to Blanny, the lady in Brooklyn, for years. She was traveling to Anguilla. So you're going to tell me that all of this that we know as Nivisions, that our leaders in government, our premier knows, and he's been in government now for
19 years,
100 years, and you're telling me that destiny has to bring these jobs to get these projects. It's just I'm not going to say that, but it leads me to think funny, because you're thinking that here you have people who have come in good faith to represent the country, the brightest and best, and all of a sudden the disappointment that you are experiencing it leaves you in a state of shock, because you're saying, well, where is the leadership? Where is the brain power involved in this?
Well, if you have been bought from the beginning,
you don't need to exert any brain power.
You don't have to exert anything.
You just lay back and make the million.
Because I've said all along, I mean, you're a politician. You were a senator. You know how the politics work. The biggest fear of any politician is to lose the trust of the people, to lose that, that vote, and therefore you try to do things to keep in good stead.
Well, I would correct you there.
Yes.
Respectfully, you do things, not try.
Yeah, you do things
that would keep you
of course.
in the good stead of the people,
Yes.
and that means good governance, transparency. One of the things, I talk about Joseph Parry a lot because, he's a political role model to me, in my view, because I've watched him. He assiduously went out to the people to talk to them all throughout, and people can bear me out on this. All throughout his stint as premier. He continued to go out and meet people in town hall settings. He continued to talk to people. He explained things ad nauseum to people who wanted to ask questions to him. He never failed to respond to questions.
And his yard was always open to people.
Here you have a premier who is telling you, you're not going to see disagreement until I tell you.
And to go read your Bible. What the point I was getting to cause here is the fact that given given the idea that politicians always try to be in league with the voters,
of course,
right?
In touch.
Then when you hear this resounding no from Destiny, and you still continue. Let's take this call here. Good afternoon, Target.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Livingstone Williams again. Sorry for disturbing you so many times. So, Mr. Corbier, I used to hear you pen statement, criminal enterprise. Don't you think that this, what is going on now, is just that?
Well, caller, conflict of interest. If you're caught in a conflict, what that needs is an investigation, because you may be innocently caught in a conflict. So, if I were to meet a gentleman from Belgium on the road and I give him a ride in my vehicle and he has a bag over his shoulder and he said he has no place to stay, and I bring him to my home and put him in my house with my wife and kids, and the next day the police turns up and say, well, this man is suspected of having cocaine or marijuana, then he has compromised me. And that is the situation that I'm talking about. That I think Dr. Daly is saying. If you, in all good faith, say you're looking for investors, and then you find out that these investors have ulterior motives,
you walk away.
You simply walk away. It's like robbing the Red Riding Hood. You go in and you think it's a grandmother, but it's really a wolf. So what do? You flee. You flee that scene. You rebuke that devil with the blood of Jesus and walk away.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but when you're the devil yourself, what happens then?
Well, if you're the devil themselves, then the nation has to flee from you.
Thank you, caller. All right, boss.
My mother, of blessed memory, God bless her soul in heaven today, always said, rebuke the devil and he will flee from you.
But the Bible says resist him.
Yeah, rebuke. Well, she doesn't say rebuke him.
Well, we all
actively.
Grew up with the saying, "A harbor is worse than a thief."
That is so true.
And a bird of a feather flock together. And so, what we are seeing is a complicity between the Premier and Johnson regarding Destiny. You would have thought that having sight of history, having a sight of the rebuke by the people on Destiny, the Premier would have flown the coop by now.
Yes.
But he's on the nest.
But
he's still on the nest.
Any respectable leader would have come out to the people and say, look, I have experienced a groundswell, not of support, but of dissent to this project. And I would like to respectfully, put it on hold, or let's move on to something else. But instead of that, what this leader, this so-called leader, this premier is
doubling
saying,
down,
digging in his heels and saying, we are going to use destiny as a referendum for the next election. That is what he's saying. So he's hoping now to bring monies into the equation. He's hoping to bring influence into the equation.
Well, you know, destiny going to finance his campaign.
And he's hoping to power through and bulldoze the people, the poor people of Nevis who are crying out and saying no to destiny. He is going to bulldoze them with money and power coming from the same destiny. How can we withstand that?
It's going to bite. But we keep saying, right, Daly, that the downswell of opposition to destiny is out there. The Premier is not hearing it. Up to when the Premier was on the radio station.
You think he's not hearing it too? You really believe he's not hearing it?
Well, it can't be that he
Come
hearing
on,
it.
come on.
Because the Premier is saying that there is no great noise outside, a few people making
But
noise.
you know he's lying, Tulu.
I know that. It's not that I don't know that.
So don't say he doesn't know. He must listen. He had a town hall meeting. I was there.
I was there too.
He asked a question by error, thinking that he had the room covered. Do you want destiny? Resounding no. You have letters from chamber. You have letters from the legal fraternity. You have letters from Evangelical Association. You have all these constant opposition here in Nevis, marches, simple everything, newspaper articles, international press, saying to the Premier, you're going wrong.
And his response to that is to politicize it and dig in his heels and say, we're going to use that as a reference.
See the way I am saying that the Premier is missing something.
He's missing a screw.
Okay, let's go. Because you go back to that meeting. Remember at the meeting, there's an overwhelming 99% of the people said no. And the Premier sat there and said, he heard what?
He said, but he was talking shit.
Okay?
Yeah,
and the very same thing that we are going through all the time, that he is saying, that he's hearing from the majority. He don't know when anybody is hearing. But when he do what he's doing, the majority
in
of
his
people
echo,
are telling him.
In his echo chamber.
In his mind. So he said...
You have 5 members in cabinet. They're all telling you yes.
But some of them have come out. The Honorable Hazel Brandy has come out and said clearly that you're, as a member of cabinet, never seen this in Nevis. A member of cabinet, you can't oppose, you can't suggest anything to the Premier.
No. Yes, I heard
He
that.
knows everything. She couldn't in cabinet raise a point and say, look, fellas, let's support this. And not only that, I've had a gentleman who dealt with the Honorable Hazel Brandy, a minister in the CCM cabinet, in relation to a project that he was doing, a gentleman from St. Kitts, and he couldn't get paid. The gentle lady hired gentlemen in good faith to do work, and he couldn't get paid. Lo and behold, the Premier then engaged the same gentleman as a quantity surveyor
for the
hospital, to do the hospital, and gave him award him a contract of $98,000, to which he paid him $24,000. When the gentleman got it, he said, "Well, this is the pay for the previous minister," and he's gone. We are being made to look like a laughing stock by this.
But let me ask something, because I'm perplexed. I don't think Dr. Drew is a foolish person. I don't think Jeffrey Hanley or any member of his cabinet are foolish people. Congress is a bright fellow. They would have seen the proposal. They would have perhaps gotten the first preview of the oversight committee and the ad hoc committee. And after all of that being said, and all of the iterations about constitutional conflicts and all that, forget all that. The idea, very idea, that we are contemplating allowing 30,000 white people from all walks of life, multimillionaire, billionaires among them, to settle on Nevis, 1 mile away from Charlestown. Who will have the right to vote? Who will have the right to purchase property any way they want? How is that even contemplated? That we in our generation become minorities in our own country?
Well, the question can be reversed. Can that happen in any European country?
No, it cannot. It cannot.
Can you have say, what I don't know, Nigeria might be the most populous African country, 200 million people. Suppose 50 million of those people decide they're going to go to London. They're going to go to England.
Can happen.
You're going to see all kind of laws
It's
pop
going to
up.
happen.
Yeah,
And
and
already you're seeing pushback in Europe.
Exactly.
With all the migration.
One of the things that
and
I'm
they're only up to
proposing,
2%.
there are many things to be proposed here. One of the things I'm proposing is that a letter be written to the Belgium government in relation to Mr.
Hold that
Benson.
thought. Hold that thought, please. Good afternoon, you're on target.
Hi, good afternoon, guys. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cozy. It's a pleasure seeing you again.
Good afternoon.
You know who that is, right? You hear the sexy voice?
Kel, let me ask you something.
Go ahead, please.
This bright boy
Mm-hmm.
sent a proposal down to St. Kitts. Before he sent it down, he said that he and his cabinet went over it. That's when he sent it down and gave the Prime Minister 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Prime Minister mentioned that he sent it back over to him. And he himself said the Prime Minister sent it back over to him. I think he said to correct 4 things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how is it the bright boy get 4 things wrong? Both he and his cabinet.
Is it 4 out of 5?
Huh?
4 to 4.
This bright boy get 4 things wrong. He and his cabinet went over it, sent it down. And the people who think are so dumb, they still got to send it back for the bright boy to correct. I hope that this would be the shot in the foot, that he understands that he needs to just give up on this thing and let us breathe again. And just go.
So what you're trying to say, he's not so bright after all?
Oh, well, from the beginning. Dwight should tell you, because I remember I had a conversation and the other guys used to run him from down by them to do the homework, and Dwight used to do his homework.
No, Dwight, you're laughing. No, because you're laughing.
Talk the things. What, Dwight? You're keeping secrets, man.
Let's go, Mr. Kosia.
Yes.
You used to do the homework.
Dr. Daly, a light moment.
A light moment.
But the seriousness here is this, that we have a threat, and this is why I'm saying that, some time ago there were 2 European ministers, 2 members of Parliament, European Parliament, that formed some type of subcommittee as an oversight committee in relation to what they call the Golden Passport, or the Economic Citizenship by Investment program that we have. They call it Golden Passport program. Europe has abolished their passport programs. The last one was Malta. The ECJ ruled on it and say that citizenship cannot be given by any member state of the European Union because it fractionalizes the citizenship rights of the other member states. Mm-hmm. You understand that kind of language?
Yeah.
27 member states. If you give citizenship in one member state, it says it's taken away. Not just the people from that member state, but from all across the European Union. St. Kitts Nevis is a little country with 50,000 people, right? We are giving citizenships to these people, and then all of a sudden our governments can't control them. Our governments are at an impasse in terms of, when I say our governments, our local and federal government, the leaders, are at an impasse as how to deal with this agreement. They're scratching their heads. They're shaking, they're wondering what to do. The Premier has sent over a proposal, as the caller said, got 4 out of 4 wrong. The Prime Minister sent it back over. This is a comedy of errors. This is not what governance is supposed to be. And when you look at what is been happening in Europe, in a flip position, they have been looking at us and saying they are going to blacklist our economic citizenship. In fact, they've given the whole Caribbean until 2028 to get rid of it, not to change it and reform it. Now, they used to say you have to reform and you have to do this. Now they're saying get rid of your citizenship program.
Why?
Or face the revocation of the Schengen arrangement. Yeah. And so that is a very clear threat.
Well, I'm looking at something here from that, because those same Europeans, people who are putting this on us, they are the ones who are going to come back to us now because they're targeting all the nations that they talk about. And they're going to bring in their destinies and their different programmers to take
Right.
us over. So
And-
they
and
take
so-
this away
so
for
the-
them to come back in and take over.
And that's exactly my question, Dr. Daly. We need, and when I say we, I mean the opposition, the Nevis Reformation Party, need to articulate a letter, draft a letter to the highest office, the Attorney General or the President or Prime Minister, whatever it is, of Belgium. Because this man is a national of Belgium. And bring these issues to him, to the Belgian leaders, and make them a part of the dilemma that we're in. Because this is a citizen of Belgium who, if we have, God forbid, some type of disaster tomorrow, a hurricane, an earthquake, some major disaster, they can jump into their yachts
And sail away.
and sail away, or into their private jets and fly away.
Mm-hmm.
What is left of us? We have to sit here and
deal with it.
Deal with the disaster. They don't have to do it because they have dual citizenship. They have acquired our citizenship, but they're born in Belgium. So we need to write to them and ask them who these people are, find out whether they agree with what these people are doing. This Destiny project has been reported wide, at large. It's in the London Times, Financial Times of London, and so forth. So I don't think it would be a strange ask to have a letter written to them and ask them whether they agree with what their citizens are doing.
What should have been a red flag for most of us, gentlemen, is when it was revealed that had this Destiny thing proceeded, and if when NRP comes into power, we rescind it. It will cost the people of St. Kitts and Nevis $23 billion.
Well, you have these types of things that I've looked at that, and I've heard the arguments and the back and forth about it. And I, for one, think it's much ado about nothing, because I feel that the act itself is an impossibility. And I've had some private discussions in relation to certain clauses in the act. But I think it's an impossibility, and I think it should be repealed.
Why hasn't it been repealed? That has been the ultimate.
It hasn't been repealed because the Prime Minister and the Premier are friends. The Premier, who is the leader of the opposition in the Federal House,
is not leading the opposition.
Is a non-leader in relation to opposition.
So Dr. Drew is getting a free pass?
And a non-leader in relation to being the Premier. And so what you have is that he's trying to be a leader as the Premier, but his non-leadership as the leader of the opposition has completely equalized and negatived his ability to do so. So what you have is an equation where the Premier of Nevis is going down and is cutting a deal with the Premier, the Prime Minister, and saying to him, look, let us do business. Let us sort something out to secure political life. So it comes down to really longevity in office. It comes down to political self-preservation. How long, if Dr. Drew goes into this election in St. Kitts and you have Labour winning 4 seats, then the wish or the desire for the later leadership would be that the same person who is the leader of the opposition now attains 2 or 3 of the seats that he have in the Federal House and form the government. And this is the reality. We have to open our eyes to these realities.
But let us look at that reality for a minute. We only got a few minutes left.
Yes.
If that scenario plays out, and it's quite realistic, actually, then we are doomed. Because one of the bargaining positions of the Premier would be, I need Destiny.
Yes.
And therefore, he will get, the Prime Minister will have no choice but to sign if he wants to remain Prime Minister. If the Premier himself doesn't want the Prime Minister, but just a member of Cabinet. So what we are saying here on Nevis, this is a potential outcome for the next federal election and even has great ramifications for the local elections.
Yes.
Because if he's removed from the scene in the local elections, everything else doesn't go anywhere because we will not honor.
And that is the only lifeline for the people of Nevis, to remove this man like a cancer from the flesh of Nevis that he is so parasitically attached to. He need to be exorcised completely. He need to be cut out of the equation of Nevis, and only the people of Nevis can do this. And that is why I'm saying, I'm very serious when I say that the campaign of the Nevis Reformation Party is absolutely inimical in relation to hitting the road on town hall meetings. And so that the people in Cox, the people in Fothergills, the people in Zion, the people in Butlers, you go to them and you tell them intimately about this. This is what we had to do when the constitutional affront took us, back in 2005, 2006. And I think this is a disaster looming that is akin to a constitutional disaster like the disaster that Vance Amory was putting upon us. So I am appealing to the Nevis Reformation Party. I can't say so enough. I am appealing to the executive of the Nevis Reformation Party. Organize town hall meetings, get out in the public and let people know the facts. Put your brains together. There's a lot of brains inside the executive, and go out and talk to the people one-on-one, field their questions, explain to them what the threat here is, and let the people be prepared for whenever the next election is called to come out in their resounding numbers and cut this cancer from our midst.
Okay, with those words, folks, we are done for today. We have given you 3 hours today. And if you're so minded to have our esteemed gentleman return,
Aye.
You only got one vote.
That is enough.
If you're so inclined to have Mr. Cozier back, because we have not, listen.
Yeah, we have.
If I don't have an hour or 2 to go by Cozy, I don't bother go, because we will be engaged from the get go, from the time I sit down till the time I leave. All right, it's always thrilling conversations, and so if you want to have Mr. Cozier back with us to discuss other things, because we have not even discussed his case with malfeasance against Mr. Spencer Brand and Mark Bryant. We haven't even touched that. Yes, so I see Susie Warner is already saying yes, bring him back.
Delicious, yes.
Delicious is saying yes. And I ain't seen nobody else yet. I ain't seen Tanya say yes.
Tanya
Oh, yeah,
say
yes.
That's
Okay.
6 votes around there.
Right. So the next time Mr. Cole is available, we'll certainly bring him back sooner than later, because I think he is a wealth of information. I think he has the right attitude to what NRP needs to do to get serious with this challenge. We need to fight them at every corner, in every court. I know we have not had much luck in the courts, but we can't stop trying. And I think the cases that the situations he discussed today with the conflicts of interest, it just takes that spark to ask the judge for a review and to make sure that we hold this government to account. All right, so I see Anne-Marie Nisbet Horton, Lynette Farrell, Rhonda, Hildred, Jeanette, yes please, with a please on the end. What? You've made quite an impression, Mr. Cozier, as I expected you would. I do thank you, sir. Tulu, good afternoon to all your listeners. See you next week, Saturday, same time, same station. God bless and be safe for the rest of the weekend. All right?
All right, thank you.